Part 90. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 894. The street lights seemed to be broken. After eating and chatting for a while, it was almost time to go to bed. Helena's apartment is only a 2-bedroom apartment and cannot accommodate so many people, so some people have to live elsewhere. On the way back to the guest house, Qiang Gui raised his head and looked at the lamppost standing on the roadside. He saw the street light flickering like an upside-down teacup. It was obvious that he was about to die soon. Counterattack was walking beside her, and Richelieu was walking at the back alone. She suddenly stopped and looked back subconsciously. It was already late at night, and most people were sleeping. In the small building not far away, only one window on the 3rd floor was still open. The light was on. It was the bedroom window of Helena's apartment. She bit her lip, not knowing why she was in a bad mood. This is the company's apartment. Hindenburg was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, eating an apple without peeling it. Missouri picked up 2 soft pillows and placed them on the armrests of the couch, then lay down on them. The 2 of them are good friends and comrades in arms in the company. It is a rare opportunity for them to sleep together and have a good chat. Do you want it? Don't want. Don't want. Don't forget it. Enterprise took a shower, only wearing a white shirt and holding a glass of Coke to drink. Among our group of people, it seems that California is still in the fighting group, but he is no longer on the front line and has been relegated to the 2nd line. As instructors, everyone else has come out. Royal Oak is in the Terror Department, King Kong, the brainless one, seems to be in the Tsuda Department, and Rodney joined the garrison a long time ago and got married. Hindenburg finished eating the apple and took the apple core to find the trash can. She heard Enterprise's words, "Missouri is coming soon." Enterprise, do you know? She today. Hindenburg, if you say one more thing, I will kill you. Missouri's voice overcame Hindenburg. How could Hindenburg be afraid of threats? She said, Missouri had an affair with the admiral, and then. Before Hindenburg could speak, Missouri threw her down, straddled her, and strangled her neck tightly with both hands. I'll kill you now. Enterprise's eyes widened, and she became excited, going to bed and getting on the boat. Wisconsin was in Rafi's room, kneeling on the bed with her ear against the wall. Helena asked curiously, "What did you hear?" Wisconsin replied, "Hear nothing." "Then what have you been listening to there? Maybe it hasn't started yet." "You really have nothing to do." Helena was sleeping on the bed, thinking that it was obviously mine, and she was really reluctant. However, as a veteran wedding ship, Lion had just returned to the garrison, so the admiral should be given to her, and he couldn't be too close. Favor. A little irritated, she took a comic from the bedside table. She was so childish. She put down the comic and took a fashion magazine. She flipped through a few pages and felt better. Wisconsin, look at this dress. I saw it in Chuangziu. I suddenly realized that the bat sleeves are very beautiful. I really want to buy one, but I am a little afraid of matching clothes. What clothes? As a girl, Wisconsin naturally likes beautiful clothes. She finally left the wall and lay on Helena's shoulder. But before she saw the magazine, she saw a white greasy patch, which blinded her eyes. "Helena, can you usually see your feet when you lower your head?" Helena felt a little confused. "I can't see it." Wisconsin rubbed his temples. "How could I be so stupid that I would agree to sleep with you?" "What?" Helena laughed. It was full of twists and turns, one after another. "There are snacks on the desk that I bought in the afternoon when I passed by the Kanyang branch store. There are also notebooks, magazines, various books, pen holders filled with various pens, ink bottles, desk lamps, cups, mirrors. To be honest, it seems a bit messy." Sugu sat at the desk and looked at Shishi standing by the bed, taking off his clothes, not minding that he was around. He is still very pure, even though the Lion is his wedding ship. After all, they have just met, they are no longer an old married couple in Lexington, nor are they the Prince of Wales. He is embarrassed to be so blatant and only dares to cover up. He saw the slender neck, smooth shoulders, delicate collarbones. Do you really don't have to turn your back to me? He couldn't remember where he saw such a sentence. It moves like a jittery jade rabbit and is as quiet as a carefree white dove. Tall and tender, the meat is trembling, pink and tender, and juicy. Stealing men's souls and making women lustful. There is another saying, the freshly peeled chicken head is soft and warm, smooth and just set, and stuffed with crispy meat. He saw the Lion put on his nightgown, stretched out his hands through the gap between his neck and hair, picked up his thick golden wavy hair, gathered it, shook it, put it behind his back, shook his head again, and said the wire swings. The flat belly has long since disappeared. At any rate, the skirt only just covers the top of her thighs, and her long, sexy, and toned legs are still exposed to the air. After finishing everything, the Lion glanced at Sugu. When he saw his eyes meeting hers, he quickly turned away his head and snorted softly, "Didn't the Admiral like to see me ruined the most before?" He was so unscrupulous. Sugu didn't defend himself. This was the truth, so he could only smile awkwardly. He thought that the Lion's vertical painting was definitely the best in the game, and the big broken vertical painting would be even better. I used to be reluctant to spend money on gold, so I gave my first ring to Lexington mainly for dressing up in my wedding dress. Later, I encountered a brain control, and for the first time I bought the cheapest Raiders for gifts. 1 and 2, and then I couldn't control it anymore. There were many ring gift packages every time, and the Lion soon got married. Lion sat on the bed, leaned against the headboard, and glanced at Sugu. The Admiral seems very nervous. Is there any? Sugu thought to himself. It was possible before, but now there is no pressure. I'm not nervous. The Lion asked, are you sleeping? Well, okay, go to sleep. Sugu started to take off his clothes now. The Lion was surprised, the Admiral actually has some muscles. Of course, who am I? Sugu looked down, his six-pack abs were vaguely visible, but there was no mermaid line or dog waist. After taking off his clothes and placing them on the back of the chair next to the bed, Sugu walked to the door and asked, turn off the lights. Close it. The desk lamp was not turned on, and there was no bedside lamp. Sugu turned off the lamp, and the surrounding area immediately became dark. Only the faint moonlight shone into the room from the window, casting a silvery glow. He walked to the bed and sat down, then thought about climbing into bed. He said he was sleeping, but of course he couldn't just sleep like that. He said, Lion. Consultant Sue, you were at the Kanyang headquarters before, right? I haven't been to the Kanyang headquarters yet. How about somewhere? I rarely stay at the Kanyang headquarters, and most of the time I run around outside. She thought for a while and said, as for the Kanyang headquarters, it used to be a castle, and it was built around the castle to become the current Kanyang headquarters. The greening has been done well, it's good. There are trees everywhere. It's cool in summer, but there are also a lot of bugs. The castle has a bell tower, and Elizabeth likes to go there. She stands on the bell tower and looks at the sea. The sea near the land is a little light green, and the sea in the distance is dark blue. Color. As an admiral, Sugu naturally knows the structure of the ship girl headquarters, but he does not know the details. Remember that the ship girl headquarters is a parliamentary system, right? Will there be a policy wrangling for a long time? Although everyone is for the good of the ship girl, everyone has different ideas. There are doves and hawks who often quarrel during meetings. Of course, the relationship is still very good in private. I also heard people say that she is hood, and our hoods are different. From what she said, we almost got into a fight once when we were arguing. Sugu said, almost, meaning it didn't work out in the end. No fight. That's still very restrained, Sugu thought to himself. When he saw the news for the first time, he felt that it was quite destructive. He always thought that foreign parliaments were very civilized, and everyone was polite in suits and ties. Who knew that they would start fighting if they disagreed? There are things like splashing water, throwing leather shoes, and hugging and throwing. Even if she is a female congresswoman, she is absolutely unambiguous when it comes to fighting. The lion shook his head. Consultant Su, you are not a congressman, right? She is a member, but not a standing member. The company should also be a member. She must go to important meetings, she asked. Is the admiral still a junior admiral now? Yes, young admiral, not the governor, not the councillor. Sugu was silent for a moment. What do you think? Should you try hard to compete for the governor? In fact, if you work harder, I think it's still possible. The lion asked, do you think about it yourself? I've been to the governor's mansion, and people visit me every day. I find it troublesome, and I like to be quieter. It's terrible for a man with no ambition, Sugu said. If you want it, I will try my best. In no mood. Sugu said, you don't have to say that for my sake. A man works hard to make money outside, but a woman thinks he has no time to spend with her. A man spends time with a woman at home, and a woman thinks the man is not motivated. Insatiability is a common problem among human beings, and pursuits and desires will never be satisfied. The lion said, Admiral, if you have the time to be the governor, why not spend more time with everyone? I ask you this mainly to ask if you want it. Don't all men want to make achievements? If you want it, maybe I can help. The lion laughed. Leave it to us if you have anything to do outside. Admiral, just stay in the town hall and be a little man. We will support you. She is indeed the queen. Sugu nodded and suddenly burst into laughter, thinking that if the male lion did nothing, the female lion would hunt. A little concerned, Consultant Su asked, how tall is the lion? The lion reported a number. So high. Sugu felt a little angry. He suddenly remembered that he was unwilling to exercise when he was a child. His father kept saying, look at so-and-so who plays basketball every day, and how tall they are now. I still don't want to exercise, probably because of my genes. In short, I ended up being taller than that person. Later, when I had nothing to do, I took this sentence out and treated it as a joke. If I had known earlier, I would have been taller now if I had exercised more. The lion asked, the admiral thinks that I am too tall. Why do you think so? Sugu said, if it were a lion, it would have to be that tall. Why? Since you are a queen, of course you have to be taller. If you are too short, it won't make sense. Although there are short queens, the tall queen is more sensible. Sugu thought for a moment, be a little more arrogant and strong. Not the kind that is coquettish and likes to lose temper, but likes to order others. I will never be subordinate to others and likes to dominate and control everything. The lion said, Admiral, have you noticed that you really look like a pervert? Is there? Sugu thought to himself, there must be. Admiral, you want to lick my feet? The lion said amusedly, or do I step on your head? Sugu thought to himself that the lion's white silk legs were stepping on his head. It felt so, not that painful. The queen was of course used to conquer. He shook his head repeatedly, I don't want to. Sugu suddenly laughed, does the lion know? Now in everyone's eyes, you are considered the most pitiable person in the guardhouse. O lion asked in response. Everything comes from the game, and there was no way to accept it at first. It all felt quite fake. After so long, it is now difficult to accept the identity of Admiral and accept everything. Sugu was not shy and said, the lion is obviously a wedding ship, so the bond with me, the Admiral, should be the deepest. Most of the people have returned to the town hall, but you haven't come back yet. You are back to the townhouse now, but it's been several years. Sugu held the back of his head with his hands and continued, it has been more than 3 years since I first met Xiaozai. Among so many wedding ships, Lexington and Saratoga were the first, followed by Bismarck and North House, then to the Prince of Wales, Hood and Reputation are late, but it's been almost 2 years since they returned to the garrison. Lion said, after waiting for the Admiral for 3 years, I met him again and saw him having an affair with a woman. Sugu explained, it's just a joke. You mean you have no relationship at all? Sugu said, no. The Lion hesitated to speak, thinking about how despicable that sentence was. Then you swear not to marry Missouri, she said. Missouri will be very sad when he hears what you said. Sugu said, we really have nothing to do with each other. I've missed such a long time until I returned to the garrison, Lion thought. He thought he wouldn't care, but when he saw Missouri holding the Admiral's arm, he was still jealous. Then as compensation, starting from today from now on, the Admiral's control over the next 3 months belongs to me, so it's only fair. I have no objection. Sugu knew that she was just saying it casually. Besides, he was no longer the Sugu he used to be. He didn't know whether it was okay or not to be honest. He now knew how to say things that girls like to hear. The Lion said, it's settled. Good. The Lion heard it from Sugu's voice, Admiral, do you want to sleep? Sugu squinted his eyes. He was indeed a little sleepy. The reason was that he didn't take a nap, a little. The Lion said, then go to sleep. Sugu suddenly felt a chill, and soon found a pair of arms wrapped around his neck like a snake, and a pair of soft jade wengxiang pressed tightly against his back. Even through his nightgown, the elastic, the sense of collision makes people feel distracted and endlessly reverie. Lion Sugu couldn't help shouting. What's wrong? If you insist on doing this, I can't sleep anymore. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 895. Although he slept very late last night, Sugu still woke up well at 8 o'clock. I feel so much more handsome when I put on the Admiral uniform. It really depends on the clothes and the saddle. After putting on the white Admiral uniform, straightening his tie and buttoning his sleeves, Sugu sat at the desk. He held the brim and turned his Admiral hat in front of the mirror, then pointed at the mirror and said, funny, Admiral Sugu, you have to remember that you will always be the most handsome one. The Lion's voice sounded smelly. Sugu turned his head and saw a small crown on the head of a lion, holding a golden lion head scepter inlaid with a huge ruby. He was not wearing the same skirt as yesterday, but a more gorgeous long skirt, which was mainly reflected in the lantern. The sleeves, ruffles and layered large skirt, white stockings and a pair of invincible high heels look a bit like a game portrait, but not so revealing, quite elegant and solemn. She noticed Sugu's eyes, tugged at the hem of his skirt, and asked, how is it? Sugu said, beautiful, gorgeous, and thoughtful. What do you mean by thinking? The Lion frowned slightly, showing a hint of confusion. Don't worry about those details. Sugu looked at the Lion up and down, and he asked curiously, is it really convenient for you to walk dressed like this? It's inconvenient, said the Lion, the awarding ceremony at 10 o'clock. In the case of the investiture ceremony, consultant Sugu, don't you need to wear a uniform? That's good. Sugu said, when you dress like this, it doesn't feel like a military award ceremony, but more like a knighthood conferred by the Queen. Dong dong dong. There was a rapid knock on the door at this moment. Sugu walked to the door and opened it. Her long blue hair was tied up, with a hairpin stuck in it. The tassels of the hairpin were swaying. Helena stood at the door. When she saw Sugu, her voice was a bit resentful. Admiral, get up, I thought you couldn't get up. Bed. The old couple has been married for so long, how could Sugu not know the meaning of Helena's words? He retorted, you can't get out of bed. Helena said, The vanguard has come over. Did she come so early? You got up too late, Helena said. Be careful. You realize that you really need to be punished. Sugu raised his fist and geared up. I won't be beaten for 3 days. Good morning, Admiral. Good morning, Avant-Garde. Sugu walked into the living room and saw Avant-Garde standing by the window. She had blonde hair combed into a neat ponytail. She was still wearing the same night outfit as yesterday, but with a large dark blue cape. Cover the whole body. Hey, you can still get up, not bad. When Sugu saw Missouri sitting on the sofa with her fingers spread out to greet him, he suddenly became furious. He stood behind the sofa and picked up a pillow and threw it at her head and face. It's time to eat, I'm a little hungry. Hindenburg, the foodie, couldn't wait any longer. After breakfast in the cafeteria, it was soon followed by the awarding ceremony. The location was in the auditorium of the Shipgirl branch. Everything had been decorated here. The first is admission. In fact, except for the people from the Shipgirl branch, no admirals came to watch the ceremony. To be honest, the ceremony seemed a bit simple and pitiful. The main reason was that the number of admirals and shipgirls was too small. Everyone also had missions and could not leave the garrison easily. If something is not too important, we won't mobilize troops and mobilize people. Of course, there were people from the publicity team standing in the audience, holding cameras and preparing to take pictures. The awarding ceremony would of course be published in the newspapers in the future. The host was the heavy cruiser Augusta, the head of the publicity team in a black suit and skirt. She introduced the identities of she and Avant-Garde, as well as Sugu's identity and achievements. At the beginning of the ceremony, everyone stood up and played a song. The Shipgirl headquarters also had its own national anthem. Then the decision to award the medal was announced. Then the Lion came on stage to award Sugu a medal. Sugu had a headache thinking about the thank you speech. Today, the Shipgirl headquarters made a special trip here to hold a grand award ceremony for us. I feel deeply honored and proud. With the leadership, care, and help of the Shipgirl headquarters, our garrison. Finally, I sincerely hope that everyone will guard against arrogance and impatience in their future work. Applause rang out and he went to the company to deliver a speech. Finally, Augusta announced the end of the ceremony. There was not much to note about the entire investiture ceremony. For Sugu, when he saw the lion's majesty and solemnity at close range, and when he leaned over to pin the medal on his chest in line with his tall figure, he felt a huge pressure. Even though he knew that she was his wedding ship, sleeping on the same bed in the morning did not diminish him at all. However, after the awarding ceremony, something happened. Sue, who wrote the lines for you? My reputation as head maid. The lines are great, but your delivery is silly. Actually, I wrote the lines. I'm just saying, reputation can't write such silly lines. If the lines are silly, so are the people. Are you specifically looking for trouble? Yes. Just laugh, I don't care. Ha 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 ha. Sugu couldn't bear it anymore. Missouri, are you looking for death? The awarding ceremony still took a long time, and it was already noon when it ended. After enjoying the rather grand banquet, we rested for a while, and in the afternoon we had the exercises we had promised. Qianfeng, you now represent the Shipgirl headquarters. The sea water hit the tall concrete embankment over and over again, splashing waves and foam. The company stood on the embankment and repeatedly told the Avant-Garde not to release water even if the opponent was its own garrison. She didn't care so much about the reputation of the Shipgirl headquarters, she mainly considered the bet. The Vanguard took off his knight's cloak. The reason might affect his combat effectiveness. He nodded heavily, I understand. Richelieu, it's all up to you. Sugu put his hand on Richelieu's shoulder. Richelieu stood up straight, don't worry, Admiral. The two people have the same level of training, and the ship parameters are actually similar. As the queen of the training ground, Avant-Garde can always perform for a long time in the training ground, but he can't do it to the extent of crushing Richelieu. In short, whoever wins will lose. Possible. The agreement was to win 2 out of 3 games. As the sun was about to set in the evening, the Avant-Garde lost 2 games and had no chance to play. The company couldn't accept it at all. Qianfeng, I misjudged you. Sorry. That guy must be threatening you. Really sorry. Avant-Garde, please stop apologizing. I was just joking. She wasn't a battleship, but she still had good eyesight. The company could see that the Avant-Garde didn't give in, and the battle went back and forth and was quite exciting. Qinwei really felt a little aggrieved. She sniffed and thought to herself that last night she was worried that she would lose today, but she did. But why? He clearly gave his all, not holding anything back, and there was no problem with his performance. Since it's not his problem, it's Richelieu's problem. A ship girl's emotions affect a ship girl's combat effectiveness. What emotional state is Richelieu in? Insomnia at night, tossing and turning, not sleeping well, venting anger. Definitely lived up to the Admiral's expectations. Avant-Garde. No, it's obviously Hood. Still. Didn't you see a red heart beating there for so long? Where is the ring? No ring, so annoying, so annoying, so annoying, all you bastards, go to hell. Choose one of 6 night battles. Kill the Dean with 1 critical strike. No matter what the enemy is, destroy them all. I work hard and I am good. Please give me the ring. Anyway, it's definitely not this one. Since you don't want to give me the ring, don't blame me for throwing it at you. Enterprise, 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 you lose, just fulfill your promise. Missouri shouted beside Enterprise. She was much more excited than Sugu. Don't go back on your word, it would be meaningless to go back on such a trivial matter. The company really wanted to regret it, but when she thought about it, it was just a touch of the leg. Should she be so pretentious? Her face was ugly. Okay, don't sing anymore. I know, it looks a little late, otherwise I'll eat it. Let's talk about food later. No. Of course not in public. This is the office of a company. The company is sitting on the sofa with his legs on the coffee table. Due to the investiture ceremony, she did not wear casual clothes, the jeans she usually likes, but a white uniform. Under the cover of the big trousers, her original pair of invincible long legs had nothing on her. Touch it. Roll up the trouser legs. Missouri would never let anyone get away with it. He rolled up the company's trouser legs himself, revealing his long and well-proportioned calves. He also took off his high heels and white stockings, revealing his 5 plump and crystal clear toes. The heads are arranged neatly, and the toenails are painted with nail polish, like flower petals. There are no thighs, and the trouser legs cannot be rolled up that high, so don't even think about taking off your pants. Enterprise glanced at Sugu. Admiral Su, are you sure you want to touch it? Missouri gave Enterprise a slap on the forehead. Are you threatening? To be honest, Sugu really wanted to touch Enterprise's legs, and even wanted to lick them. It was better not to do this. It's just a joke, but it's still a bit stressful to actually do it. It feels too perverted. In addition, everyone is around, especially Lion, Counterattack, Helena and Wedding Ship. When Missouri saw Sugu, she was quite dissatisfied. Why are you so cowardly? Touch, 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 Hindenburg shouted enthusiastically. It was just a punishment for the bet. The Lion was not jealous. On the contrary, he was amused. Admiral, touch it? Wisconsin stood on the outer edge, and she was careful not to let out Wisconsin's laugh again. Okay, Sugu finally made up his mind. He paused and asked, Enterprise, you don't have foot odor, do you? I'll kick you to death. Even a company can't be generous, so she was still a little nervous. After hearing Sugu's words, she raised her leg as if to kick, and she became much less nervous. Sugu smiled and felt better. I'm starting. The company said, you are really perverted like this. Just as Sugu's hand touched his calf, Enterprise shrank and laughed. Missouri asked, why are you laughing? Enterprise said, I don't know why I'm laughing either. Missouri said, idiot. There is no charming scene. Sugu is not a wretched pervert. He certainly won't hold the company's legs in a perverted manner, as if caressing some treasure over and over again. It's a rare chance that Zubeiji won't eat ginseng fruit. He stretched out his hand from top to bottom, slowly touching the Enterprise's knees to the instep, and finally slid it to the round bare feet, feeling the smooth and delicate skin. It has to be said that Enterprise's feet are pink and tender, with smooth lines, no blue veins, no calluses and scars. When viewed from the side, they look like a beautiful crescent moon. The top of the foot is quite soft, and if you press it lightly with your hand, it will spring up again immediately. It was less than 20 seconds, but it felt like a long time. A pair of legs that had never been touched by a man were now being held in Sugu's hands. A blush appeared on his face involuntarily. Enterprise said, are you ready? All right. Missouri asked, how was it? It feels good. Sugu rubbed his fingers. Helena said, Admiral, you are so perverted. Richelieu felt a little uncomfortable in his legs. Enterprise retracted his legs, put down his pants again, looked around and found everyone looking at him. Is there anything good to see? Soon after, Sugu took everyone away to prepare for dinner, but Missouri was the only one who hadn't left yet. When will Enterprise be ready to join our garrison? The company said, is this still the old society? If a woman touches her feet, she will marry that man. I'm not asking you to join now, I'm asking you when, Missouri said. The Enterprise said, I don't understand why I should join your garrison. Missouri said, you are willing to let others touch your legs. It's just a loss. Missouri said, being willing to agree to such a bet means that you are serious. The company said, it's not enough. It's not enough for me to join the town government. It's time for you to find someone to take your place. I feel good about your little secretary. Unfortunately, she is only a light cruiser and lacks some combat effectiveness. It is probably difficult to convince the public. The military police captain is okay. She is the only problem with battleships is that sometimes they are too rigid and cannot be flexible. The combat team leader has enough combat power, but his IQ is not enough. I don't know, you can figure it out yourself. Missouri saw what the Enterprise wanted to say. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. You can decide the rest by yourself. Sister, until Missouri left, Enterprise's secretary came from the next room. She stood at the door and saw Enterprise sitting alone on the sofa, holding a cup of tea without drinking it, thinking deeply. Finding that Missouri was catching up, Consultant Sue asked, why are you here? Are you still trying to make trouble for the company? Aren't you afraid of being beaten? No, said Missouri, I'm just sowing seeds. What do you mean? Thinking of sowing seeds, Sugu thought of something dirty. Missouri thought that the Enterprise had been shaken. If the seeds are planted, they will take root, grow, and reap the fruits. Sugu said, I still don't understand. Forget it if you don't understand. Missouri patted Sugu on the shoulder. Anyway, you just need to know that I am the best ship girl in the world and I have done you a huge favor. I should be rewarded heavily. Oh, Sugu responded and asked, what do you want? Let me think about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 896. Sitting in rows eating fruit, Italian little Lolita sit in a row. On the second day of the investiture ceremony, Sugu took everyone back to the Tutelary mansion. The accommodation issue was quickly arranged. The coffee shop was the most suitable place for leisure in the Tutelary mansion, so it was natural to come here to have a sit. The little angel Kamichia saw the lion at this time, and she said, "Sister Lion." She held the cup with milk in it. She saw the lion sitting on the wicker chair and stood up for some reason. She bit the straw and said, "It's so high." The little devil Aviel said with envy, "I also want to be that tall." Kamichia gave her sister a cold look. She said with disdain, "You are a destroyer, a little destroyer. If you want to grow so tall, just dream." Aviel felt a little aggrieved and thought I just said it casually. "The breasts are big." Kamichia suddenly sang the alphabet song, Updivk, Hijklum. Big Lolita Antonio nodded. She thought for a while and made a sign, F. Ugalini said, G. Kamichia saw Aviel and suddenly asked, "Aviel, how big are your breasts?" Aviel hesitated. She was an honest and shy child. "What did you say?" said Carmichael. "Speak clearly and loudly." Aviel lowered his head, bit his lip, and said, I don't know." "Stupid sister, well, I'll know after you touch it." Kamichia touched Aviel's chest like an old pervert, rubbing it and even poking it. Aviel did not dare to resist, his face was so red that he almost bled. "See." Kamichia nodded confidently. Ugalini said, "It's definitely not C, it's not just C." Kamichia said, "How much is that?" "Have no idea." Kamichia's eyes lit up when she saw Sugu sitting not far away. She stood up and said, "I'll ask the Admiral to come over and touch it. He will definitely be able to feel it." Aviel hugged his sister's hand tightly, raising his head with tears in his eyes, "No." "Why?" Aviel shook his head and whispered, "A girl's body cannot be touched by men." "I know, men and women cannot be intimate." Kamichia thought for a while, and she didn't know how to say it, so the meaning was more or less the same, but, I just wanted the Admiral to touch it so he could know how big it was, like. He hugs us the same way he usually does, not this one or that one. Aviel, don't be so nasty. The wise see wisdom, the benevolent see kindness, and the lewd see the lewdness. Aviel still shook his head. "Forget it." Kamichia sat down again. "I want to eat chocolate." Aviel said, "I have no more chocolate." Kamichia said, "Then you owe me a piece of chocolate." Aviel wanted to cry, thinking that it would be great if she had a gentle sister like Xianghe or Lexington, and Fletcher. She was the best to her sister, and left all the delicious food for her sister. Every morning, I help comb my hair, wash my face, and put on clothes. Only my sister bullies me all day long, and she only dares to bully me. After Kamichia finished drinking the juice, she lay on the table and sighed again. Sister Lion's legs are also very long. Antonio said, "I don't know if it's a meter long." Kamichia turned and saw Veneto. Of course, Veneto would not take the initiative to sit next to the most unreliable little girls in the whole town. The main reason was that every time they found her, they would sit next to her. Worried that she might be hacked, she had been paying attention to them from the beginning, ready to take action. In short, the two of them looked at each other. Kamichia blinked and ran away, quickly running out of the cafe. Veneto chased her out, and she was in a panic for a while. Antonio was confused. She couldn't understand why Carmichael suddenly ran away and why Sister Veneto chased her. Bazi curled up on the booth sofa, holding a pillow and reading comics. No matter who came back to the guardhouse, he was indifferent. There are many people gathered around the corner of the coffee shop, and the center of the crowd is Sugu. "Is this a medal?" Saratoga held Sugu's medal, a special distinguished combat cross. Sugu replied, "Yes." "Let me see." "Don't grab it." "Okay, it's gone." "It's your fault." "It's obviously you." "It's quite beautiful." The metal fell into Leipzig's hand, and she waited to see that it was not very heavy. Then she pinched the golden spread-winged eagle on the metal. Is this pure gold or gold-plated? I don't know. Sugu only knew that Olympic gold medals were not pure gold, otherwise hundreds or thousands of gold medals at each Olympic Games would be a huge expense. Consider that the value of an Olympic gold medal is primarily in spirit, not the gold itself. Of course, it is undeniable that the gold medal itself has a certain value, but it is far lower than its spiritual value. The medals awarded should be about the same, but the ship girl headquarters is not short of money. This is the highest level medal, so there is no need to be stingy. I'll know it once I bite it, Leipzig said. Bite it? You'll get teeth marks from your bite. Believe it or not, I'll kill you. Sugu grabbed his medal and glared at Leipzig. His expression was of course fake, and quite clumsy. In fact, if Leipzig had bitten her without saying anything, and really left a tooth mark, the most he would have done was smile helplessly and then hit her on the head a few times. Leipzig waved his hand. I won't really bite you. Sugu sneered. You say this, do you believe it? He thought to himself that Leipzig used to like to put money in piggy banks, including a piggy bank and a lucky cat piggy bank, until he gave her an aquarium called Undersea Treasure. Instead of putting the piggy bank, throw all the collected gold coins, silver coins, or ordinary coins into the aquarium. I accidentally found an ancient gold coin before and bought it as a gift to her. Later, when I saw the tooth marks on the ancient gold coin in the aquarium, I felt a little complicated. Leipzig was muttering, not knowing what he was talking about. To prevent accidents, Sugu emphasized, Leipzig, I remind you now, don't think about medals, otherwise I will never be done with you. It won't be over until it's over. Leipzig looked indifferent. Now in the town hall, except for Fletcher and a few others, no one was afraid of Sugu, and of course it was because he didn't really keep a straight face. Sugu thought that he had nothing to do with Leipzig and could only find help. Leipzig, Bismarck, or Prince of Wales, which one do you like? Or the latest model, our Lion Queen? Leipzig threw up her hands in surrender and said, well, I was wrong. It felt very beautiful. Sugu liked it very much. He looked at the medal with admiration on his face. Mine. Yours? Are you embarrassed to say yours? Leipzig snorted. Her mouth was quite sharp. Everyone is attacking outside. As an admiral, you are just an ordinary person who cannot go to the battlefield. I won't say anything if you stay in the garrison and work hard. Yeah. See what you did? Picking up girls everywhere, Mutsu, Yitsen, West Virginia, Glory, Scharnhorst, there are so many, I don't even know how to count them. Sugu said, it's not hooking up, it's just talking, and there aren't so many of them, a lot of them are just one Mutsu. Mutsu's a bitch, Saratoga said. This is not her own opinion, it is the political correctness of the town government. Leipzig brushed back his golden bangs, and Rodney, you dare to be such a sickly person. You are really not afraid of death or the hatchet. Cough cough cough. Guam coughed. Leipzig, don't say I didn't remind you, you won't die unless you seek death. Leipzig suddenly became frightened when he thought about how terrifying Rodney was, especially since he was still a German ship. He looked around and said, she's not here. She's not here, the Prince of Wales's voice boomed, but we all heard it. Sugu said, I heard it too. Leipzig is miserable. The Lion asked the Prince of Wales, what did they say, what hookup, what happened? Before the Prince of Wales spoke, Sugu took the medal and asked, I've been talking for so long and I still don't know. Lion, you should know, what on earth is this? It shouldn't be pure gold, carat gold, gold-plated, gold-filled or gilt. Admiral, give up. Guam said, you can escape the first day of the lunar month, but you can't escape the 15th. I suddenly thought of a question, why do admirals have medals and everyone else doesn't? Leipzig was a little better, she said, They keep saying that the admiral and the ship's wife have an equal relationship, but in the end, in the minds of the ship's wife's headquarters, a garrison is still dominated by the admiral. Actually, everyone has medals. Those who killed the deep-sea flagship also have medals for killing. The ship girl headquarters has prepared it, and I will award it to everyone when the time comes. Sugu suddenly laughed. And what else? When did I become the owner of the town hall? I am clearly just a mascot, a pitiful puppet. The owner of the town hall is Lexington, and she sidestepped me and took over the power of the town hall. I don't know when Xiaozai was nearby. She waved her hands and said loudly, "Defeat the great demon king of Lexington and save the admiral." Xiaozai, my knight, as long as I defeat the great demon king of Lexington, I will pledge my life to you. From now on, I will be yours. Sugushan hugged Xiaozai, rubbed her cute face, and rested his chin on top of her head. She misses her very much after not seeing each other for a few days. The small house element is being replenished, currently 55%. Guamyu said, "Where are the military police?" Brother-in-law, Saratoga said, "Leave it to me to defeat the great demon king of Lexington." Sugu clasped his fists towards his sister-in-law and said, "It turns out to be Hiro Giagia. As long as he defeats the great demon king of Lexington, he will definitely hold a knot of grass in his hand and work as an ox or a horse in his next life to repay his kindness." Saratoga looked angry. The differential treatment was disgusting. She reached out and snatched Xiaozai from Sugu's arms. Sugu saw Saratoga running away with the little house in his arms, and he quickly chased after her. "Give me the little house." Guam held her cheek in her left hand and said, "Actually, Xiaozai is the big devil who guards the mansion." In the small house, Saratoga couldn't run fast at all. It was just for fun, not really running. Sugu caught her in the corridor and regained the small house. Then he returned to the cafe and found that his seat was occupied by Missouri. He could only sit down next to him and heard everyone discussing his touching the Enterprise's leg. Helena said, "My legs are pretty, but my company's legs are no worse than hers." Guam said, "Of course. Each of the 3 York City level sisters has one attribute. York City is the breasts, although they are not very big and the shape is not very good. Bumblebee is the butt, which is really big. Enterprise is the legs." Richelieu was not there. Helena said, "I discovered, well, when the Admiral touched Enterprise's leg, Richelieu was next to him, looking at Enterprise's leg and his own leg, with a thoughtful expression. Also at night, Wisconsin slept with me on the first day, but on the second day she didn't want to sleep with me anyway, so she switched to Richelieu. Then I saw her staring at her legs before going to bed." No one reminded Helena that there is only so much help in good times and little help in bad ways. Since someone got the ring, she has become more and more excited. Someone must teach her a lesson. "Richelieu, come quickly." Missouri said, "I remember when someone touched someone's leg, their hands were shaking, their face was intoxicated, their face was flushed, and they finally wanted to lick it." Sugu couldn't help but said, "Missouri, don't frame me. The company's legs have been touched. She is probably going to join the garrison soon or something." Zeppelin could see clearly. Guam said, "Is the Enterprise going to collapse too?" Really, Bumblebee happened to walk by carrying a plate of snacks. She was quite excited. If the company joined the town hall and had such a powerful sister, she would never have to be bullied again. The eldest sister York City is really unreliable, a complete idiot, and she still wants her own B-25. Sugugents, the company has said that it must have a hero aircraft before it is willing to join the garrison. Others are not willing, but Bumblebee is definitely willing. I decided to give her the B-25, Doolittle team. Bumblebee hesitated. "The B-25 is mine." Sugu said, "Don't you want a sister? You call me corporate sister every day. I want an Enterprise sister, Not necessarily that enterprise, Bumblebee said. Didn't the ship girl headquarters reward a lot of resources? It would be great if the Admiral built another enterprise. Sugu said, it's not that easy. It's okay if I can't build it. I don't have to have a sister. Life is pretty good now, Bumblebee said. It feels a bit strange to have a stranger suddenly come and call me sister. Helena said, idiot Bumblebee, I don't want your B2-5. Bumblebee knew she was being tricked, so she cursed, asshole Admiral. When Sugu laughed, he saw Hindenburg, Nevada, Guangrong, and others sitting at the bar. Juno was standing behind the bar, looking at him, and Missouri pointing and whispering something. Why am I feeling a little uneasy all of a sudden? Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 897. The cafe in the Town Guard Mansion occupies a large area. It was originally just one room in the complex building. As more and more people came back, it was expanded and a wall was knocked out, doubling the area. Sugu, Helena, Guam, etc., everyone had a great time bullying Bumblebee Zhong. Near the window, Wichita, York, and others were playing board games, cards, chess, and shouting. At the same time, many people were gossiping here at the bar. The image of the arrogant lady has long since disappeared, and Hindenburg doesn't care. She sits on a high bar chair, leaning half of her body on the clean dark hardwood bar, taking a sip of a large glass of beer, and looking towards. He glanced around. Do you know? There is no elegant and comfortable environment with beautiful decoration, friendly and soft atmosphere, no music, no maid service, no snacks and drinks, and the most important thing is that there is no admiral. It is a matter of course that the chess and card room is in ashes and decline. Nevada is now often stopping at the coffee shop. She asked, "No what?" The matter about the Admiral and Missouri. After finishing speaking, Hindenburg wanted to drink again, but suddenly found that the beer was gone. He shook his glass, feeling a little unhappy. Young girls, little Lolita, and girls like Sci-fi, Kyungzin, and Changchun have a daily drinking limit. Naturally, Hindenburg does not need to be subject to this restriction. Before she could speak, Juno had already pushed a glass of beer in front of her. Hindenburg picked up the wooden cup and drank the beer in one gulp, enjoying himself, and praised, "Juno is so considerate. It's not caring. Tell me quickly, what did the Admiral and Missouri do?" Juno showed no expression. This time she really wasn't arrogant. Why is a stupid lady not an admiral? So that's it? Hindenburg made an awkward conversation, and then became excited after a moment. Yesterday, or should I say the day before yesterday, the Admiral took us to the ship girl branch of the Enterprise. After Hindenburg finished speaking vividly, Guangrong didn't believe it, and she said, "Real or false?" Hindenburg patted his chest proudly and said boldly, "I guarantee it with my personality. British people and German people are naturally incompatible." Guangrong pushed all her long wavy golden hair to one side and put it on her chest. She said, "Do you have personality?" "Glorious. Do you want to fight?" Hindenburg said, "You are an idiot who thinks about being an aircraft carrier all day long." York City, CV-16, Shinano and Ark Royal like to practice carrier-based aircraft at the dock. Koi will go to watch from time to time, looking up at the carrier-based aircraft hovering in the sky with longing in their eyes. This is something everyone in the garrison knows. Guangrong said, "From a historical perspective, if I grow up, I will definitely become an aircraft carrier." Hindenburg added, "She looks decent, but she's actually wearing sexy lingerie." "I like it, I love it. Is it bothering you?" Guangrong looked Hindenburg up and down and saw that Hindenburg was wearing a big grey trench coat. He is an old-fashioned man, and his clothes are rustic. "Okay, stop arguing and give me some face." Nevada stood up. In fact, she didn't have much face. She said seriously, "Hindenburg, it's not that we don't believe you, it's really that this news is too exciting. Hindenburg raised his hands and swore, if I tell a lie, come together and beat me. Nevada said quietly, the problem is that we can't defeat you together. Compared with Bismarck, Richelieu, and others, Hindenburg's training level is indeed not very good, but compared with Nevada and Glory, it is higher. Even if everyone doesn't use the power of the ship equipment, there is no way to talk about their training. Hindenburg was good at fighting, and Bismarck was a well-matched opponent, overwhelming Maryland's presence. In comparison, Cowboy Nevada is barely qualified. Although he is a knight, he is no better than Richelieu, and his fencing is nothing else. You don't believe me? Okay, it's okay. Hindenburg was very happy for some reason when she heard Nevada's words. She said, ask Helena, ask Wisconsin, and ask for the counterattack. Everyone has heard it? Heard, Juno asked, who did you listen to? Hindenburg said, the avant-garde. The avant-garde saw it with her own eyes, she told us. Qian Fang is not in the cafe. She is in her room packing the luggage she brought back from the shipgirl headquarters. All her clothes are put in the wardrobe. The large crystal ball that was a birthday gift from a friend is placed on the desk, with a photo of herself, Lion and Queen Elizabeth on it. The photo frame should also be placed on top. There is also a music box that I don't know where to put. When I was hesitating, I suddenly felt a chill. Not only that, the funniest thing is Hindenburg smiled happily, I don't know whether the two of them were caught and raped by the lion. Nevada asked, wasn't Missouri killed instantly by a lion? Sister lion, Missouri is calling like this, how can the lion do anything? Hindenburg said, you haven't seen Mutsu, she went too far. Everyone was on the front line, and she seduced the admiral in the garrison. But the public trial, I kept calling my sister over at the assembly and criticism assembly, and it's still intact now. I don't know when it will turn into a wedding ship. The British team has their afternoon tea, and the support team also has their girls' tea party. Megami held up the latest fashion magazine, Kimono, what do you think of this necklace? 10 to 100 million. Xiongye counted them, and she said, it's so expensive. Megami said, I'm asking you if this necklace is beautiful. Kimono nodded, it's so expensive, of course it's beautiful. You can't be saved. Mikuma rubbed her belly and said, Suzutani said he would go away for a while, but he hasn't come back yet. I'm back. That was it for CAO and CAO. Suzue came back with a plate of snacks. Guess what? I just heard Hindenburg and the others talking at the bar. What are they talking about? Megami put down the magazine, look at your mysterious face. Big news. Suzue said everything he heard, and of course he thought about it. Megami said, the admiral not only touched Missouri's legs, but also touched her breasts. It's not touching the breasts. Suzue put his arms around his younger sister Kimono's shoulders, rubbed the slight bulge on her chest, and emphasized, it's the cruel kind of rubbing the breasts. The admiral is so cowardly. Mikuma was eating snacks, the remnants of food falling out as she spoke, is it true? Kimono pushed his sister away, and Suzutani sat back on the booth sofa. If you talk about the admiral and Richelieu, I don't believe it, but the admiral and Missouri, you can't say what will happen to them. Hindenburg said that the vanguard saw it with his own eyes. You can see it clearly. The room was tidied up and she was ready to go to the cafe to meet everyone. Kinwei walked downstairs and suddenly felt uneasy. She stopped and shook her head, thinking that she had returned to the governor's mansion and was back with the admiral. What else could she worry about? No reason. To be honest, I've rubbed my breasts, so there's no way I won't kiss you. Suzue thought again. Mikuma said, I definitely kissed him. Isn't it said that if you find out once, you should be fooled 100 times? You dare to do it in broad daylight in the Kanyang branch where people come and go? There must be a lot of it in normal times, but no one has noticed it. Suzue's fingers twitched. Knocking on the table, it's possible, maybe, 9 times out of 10, something even more egregious has been done. Kumino was confused. What's more extreme? Megami explained, fairies fight. He keeps expressing support, but in fact, at least Kumino is pure. What's the point of fighting between fairies? Suzutani leaned into the girl's ear and whispered. Kumino's face turned red and he became more and more perverted. Her fiery red hair was not tied into twin tails, but draped behind her back. The literary girl Daifeng sat by the window with her elbows on the windowsill and her chin in her palms, looking at the endless sea while the wind blew, with a slightly troubled expression. Daifeng-chan. Daifeng turned around and saw Buko. She didn't say anything and turned back. Looking at you like this Buletin Tiao said, you must be stuck again. Daifeng was indeed confused. She felt like her head was going to explode. She didn't know how to write, and it was really uncomfortable. Don't hesitate to persuade. How about relaxing, eating something, or taking a walk to the beach outside the governor's mansion? I've tried it all, Daifeng said, his hands hanging down, and he fell on the table. His head was like a ball falling and bouncing, bang bang bang, the amplitude became smaller and smaller, and finally it stopped moving at all. Otherwise, try writing something else, Buletinho said, like a side story or something. Daifeng asked, what to write? Buletin Tiao started laughing and said, I just heard some interesting news. Daifeng paused, and the hand holding the pen tightened. The lighthouse standing not far away still has the faint afterglow of the sunset. She sat on the chair and saw the twilight townhouse through the glass window. Thump thump, thump thump, heart beating hard. This is naturally due to the figure of the man appearing on the glass of the window. That was her admiral, the admiral she liked, wearing a white admiral uniform, looking at her back with a smile, she swore. She grabbed his finger and didn't let go. She walked hand in hand to the bed, lifted the white mosquito net, and sat down together. The straight nose bridges matched with soft lips painted with bright lipstick. 2 peach blossom eyes, the tips of the eyes are slightly raised, adding a touch of charm. The oval-shaped face with slightly raised cheekbones has beautiful contours, and the white porcelain face is covered with a light layer of rouge. The neck is graceful and slender, like a swan on the lake in spring. She is undoubtedly a great beauty, and no one in the town can compare with her. She lowered her eyes, her eyelashes and eyebrows were dark, making her look even more delicate. He showed the shamelessness of a man and touched her hand. She had developed a habit of doing this, he was that kind of person, and a blush appeared on her face when she thought of what might happen next. He reached out and kneaded her breasts through the thin t-shirt, and an electric current flashed through her body. She took off her clothes, reached behind her back, unhooked her underwear, and threw it onto the wooden floor. The black stockings were rolled up, taken off, and thrown into a ball on the floor. They carefully inspected each other's bodies, then stared, touched, and kissed. Thoughts surged like a fountain, and Daifeng suddenly filled up a piece of paper with unfinished ideas. Buletin now said, Daifeng is so awesome. Daifeng felt shy. It wasn't that he couldn't, it was just that he didn't want to, but he couldn't for some reason. Buletin Tiao said, who is writing this? Can't you see this? Daifeng said, the story of the Admiral and Missouri. He put his hands on the paper and turned into a famous detective. Missouri is not an oval face, but an oval face, and you happen to have an oval face. Missouri likes yellow stockings and bare legs, but you are the only one who likes black stockings. There are many more, so I didn't point it out one by one. I think it's not the story of Missouri and the Admiral, but the story of you and him. It turns out you've been thinking. Buletin Tuo couldn't say the rest, because Daifeng's face turned red and he waved the umbrella aggressively and hit her in the face. Soon it was evening, and now it was the usual dinner party held to welcome everyone home, and the dinner was coming to an end. Washington looked at King Yi coldly. King Yi, do you want to bully our Quincy again? No, No, what do I want to do? King Yi laughed, turned around and left. Come when you want, leave when you want, Washington said, shut up and let South Dakota go. South Dakota puffed up his cheeks and said, you're the dog. Chang Chun stepped on the bench, clenched his hands and waved them out instantly. 15-15, 20. 15-15, 15. Haha, Jia Bei, you lose, drink, give me a drink, you won't believe me if I can't kill you today. Missouri held the chopsticks and picked out a piece of barbecued pork, looking shocked. Wisconsin, what are you talking about? Wisconsin said, in the afternoon at the coffee shop, I heard. Missouri was stunned, are you kidding? Who spread the word? Wisconsin replied, Itch. Chiang Chien, who was eating steak with a knife in one hand and a fork in the other, felt like a light on his back for some reason. He looked around, but found nothing unusual. Chopsticks hit the table, and Missouri couldn't help but complain. You believe this rumor, do they have any IQ? He actually said that he and I had an affair at the Enterprise ship girl branch, kissed and hugged on the road, and even had sex in the guest house room. There were even details. The Admiral put his arm around Missouri's shoulders, kissed her collarbone, and pried her apart with his tongue, her teeth. My sensitive point is my earlobe, why didn't I know? Later, the lion went to the guest house to catch me. I was found hiding under the bed, and then the two of them fought each other, slapping me and pulling my hair. It's too much to make it up. He and I hooked up more than once. We usually hooked up in the town hall. We hid in the warehouse while Lexington was reporting on work. I hid under the desk, even in the water. Coming. I know him. It's only been 2 years since I joined the governor's office. How come he even has a child? The first child of a human and a ship girl, his name is Su Mingli, which means Zishu Mingli. He was in Chuangziu No. 1 elementary school. Missouri took a deep breath, feeling that she needed to slow down. Sugu didn't know it yet, so he took the chicken legs and tore into the chicken. Admiral, don't look around, Akagi urged Sugu to move faster and to concentrate on feeding. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 898. Lexington held a small watering can. The watering can was delicately engraved with patterns of flowers and birds, like a work of art. Sugu bought it from Chuangziu's handicraft store, not a daily grocery store or a supermarket. He was putting it on the windowsill. Landscape plants are sprinkled with water, a pot of asparagus and a pot of spider plant. Sugu was holding a glass coffee pot and saw Qianwei, who was embarrassed with his hands behind his back. Do you want coffee? No need, Qianwei refused. He usually looked heroic, but now he looked like a little girl who accidentally broke a bowl. She carefully raised her head to glance at her angry father. Am I that scary? Sugu suddenly remembered that Nuan Huan usually ran around, and the newly bought clothes, pants, and socks were damaged by hooks, thorns on the bushes, or nails that were not hammered firmly. He asked her why she couldn't be more careful and raised her head. He puffed up his chest and looked like he had nothing to do with me. I have nothing to do with you, so don't be nervous. It's not me, I don't know anything. When Firefly came to the room in the morning and said that the Admiral was looking for him, Qianwei knew what was going on. There were rumors everywhere in the town hall that the Admiral and Missouri were not sure whether they were kissing, hugging, and having sex, and the source was himself. He obviously didn't say anything. It was such a huge injustice, and the blame fell from the sky. Sugu learned about the ridiculous rumors about himself and Missouri from his sister-in-law Saratoga in the morning. At that time, his jaw almost dropped. It was obvious that he just touched his legs, not his chest. He was holding a milky white ceramic coffee cup. Since he was rich, he no longer needed the ugly enamel cup. He took a sip of coffee. In fact, he didn't believe what Qianwei said. This girl seemed honest, but she only had one clue, but why does everyone say it was you who said it? Kinwei felt aggrieved, it's really not me. It may come out of nowhere, but it may not be without reason. Kinwei's head lowered further and further, I don't understand. Sugu said, it must be a rumor, 3 people become a tiger, but did you really say nothing? Qianfang thought of Helena's invitation to the kitchen a few days ago in Helena's apartment, and she explained in a low voice. And he said it wasn't you. The vanguard suddenly panicked, I just said that the admiral touched Missouri's leg, and didn't say anything else. Where are the breasts? No, probably not. Kinwei thought for a while, Helena said you touched her. You didn't touch it? It's okay if you touched it. Sugu saw Lexington standing by the window, looking at him with a half smile. He coughed, Helena thinks she's right, can you explain it to me? I said I didn't see clearly. Sugu took a deep breath, let out a long sigh of relief, and was too lazy to say anything. Don't blame Avant-Garde, this girl's character is not confident. When others insist, she first doubts herself. He knew very well what was going on. He thought of what Lu Sun said. When he saw short sleeves, he immediately thought of white arms, and immediately thought of, it seems that the ship girl's imagination is not bad at all. He said, okay, that's it, you go. Kinwei asked cautiously, the admiral knows, it's none of my business. I didn't say that in the garrison. Sugu said with a smile, the second responsibility is still inevitable, you are the one who started it. Dong dong dong. When he heard the knock on the door, Hindenburg was wearing a loose vest, sitting cross-legged on the clean solid wood floor, fiddling with his ship's uniform. Who is it? I. Who I am. If you don't say your name, no one knows who you are. With this thought in his mind, Hindenburg still recognized Missouri's voice, which was a bit cold. She suddenly remembered something and jumped up like a rabbit, trying to lock the door. However, before she could reach the doorknob, the door had already opened, revealing half of Missouri's gloomy face, like the devil outside the door. She smiled dryly, what's wrong with Missouri? Missouri opened the door and stood at the door, don't you know? I don't know. Hindenburg saw Missouri blocking the door and thought about how he should run out. He hid for a while, have there been another deep-sea ship girl? Just leave it to me and destroy them all. Missouri smiled so hard, there is no deep-sea ship girl. Hindenburg slapped his forehead and said, well, I almost forgot. I remembered something and I'm going to find Bismarck. Missouri moved her neck, cracked her knuckles, cracked, and sneered. What are you going to do? Hindenburg backed away continuously, until he retreated to the window, half of his body stretched out of the window, and looked down. There was a cement floor below, and there was a drainage ditch. Outside the drainage ditch were shrubs and soft grass. If the second I didn't hesitate to go to the first floor. Let's forget about the third floor. The ship girl couldn't bear it. Missouri is gearing up, thank you for your patronage. Stop, stop, stop. In fact, in a fight, Missouri was no match, but Hindenburg had a guilty conscience and how could he dare to fight back? In the morning, I sat at the stone table under the tree and accompanied a group of little Lolita to make origami and throw paper airplanes. The sun was shining brightly at noon, and Sugu met Missouri in the corridor downstairs of the dormitory. She was wearing a beige woolen sweater and jeans, which outlined her curvy and exquisite figure. Her sleeves were rolled up. What are you doing? Hindenburg, I asked her clearly. It's that guy who gossiped about me and made a big fuss now. In this case, I can't do anything but teach her a lesson and beat her up. Missouri gritted her teeth and remembered to put down her sleeves. I was innocent. Bye-bye, now Feng Ping is suffering. Sugu said, your reputation is actually just like that, not much better than Mutsu. What did you say? The two of them were walking on the road from the dormitory building to the gate of the town hall. Missouri took 2 quick steps and turned around to glare at Sugu. Your reputation is very good. Madame Sue is talking about someone else. Missouri said, let's go to the training room. What are you doing there? If you have a fight, I think you need to be taught a lesson. Sugu shook his head decisively, I won't go. Missouri warriors, are you scared? Scared. After walking through the small slope leading to the complex, Missouri said, you don't seem to care. He was strong, the breeze blew on the post, he was horizontal, the bright moon was shining on the river. Sugu said, actually, those rumors will be over in 2 days. I don't think so. It might turn into a feast. Missouri said, have you seen it? What? A pornographic article written by a stupid monkey. Missouri couldn't be shy, it's mine and yours. Will she still write pornographic stories? Missouri replied, the writing is quite good, it's still not fleshy enough, not erotic enough, and a bit embarrassing. After all, she has never experienced anything. She has never eaten pork or seen a pig running. She can only make assumptions. Where did you read it? Sugu said, I mean pornography. You want to see? Take a look. After all, he was the protagonist. Sugu was still a little curious. It was in Ruhi's hand when I looked at it. Missouri said, compared to Xiao Huangwen, did you see Bazai? No. Sugu knew what Missouri meant. As the admiral of Bazai and a like-minded comrade, he knew it well. Don't worry, she only drew Bismarck's books. Bismarck and the Prince of Wales, Bismarck and me, Bismarck and who Germany, Bismarck and Prince Eugen. You're really cheating. Missouri felt that there was something wrong with Sugu's words. Sugu said, this is the setting. What are you looking at? Is there anything interesting to see? Santiago walked towards him, waving his anchor's tail and looking at the two of them with strange eyes. Missouri was dissatisfied at the time, and she shouted until Santiago walked away, I also surrendered to those people, and Su Mingli came out. Sishuangziu No. 1 Elementary School, I am in the 1st grade this year, and I am still the math class representative. I have been hiding it carefully, mainly because I am afraid that Lexington will find out about it, and he will definitely be harmed. Now he lives with Colossus, so Colossus has never been there. Join the governor's office. Sugu thought for a while, to be honest, compared to my son, I still prefer a daughter, the kind who doesn't get married, like a small house. No, it's a little too skinny, and it's Phelps. Such a cute and caring little cotton padded jacket is great. Lexington would love to have a little Lexington with you, Missouri said. The child of a human and a ship girl, is it a human or a ship girl? Have no idea. Sugu suddenly burst out laughing, holding his stomach in laughter and unable to straighten his back. It took him a long time to recover. Weren't you the one who gave birth to Su Mingli? Don't you even know? Missouri Yu said, ordinary people, I was bullied, I robbed a lollipop, I couldn't beat someone, I was hiding in the corner crying, Mom and Dad, I miss you. Perhaps it's because the power is too strong and I dare not use it, and I am afraid of hurting others. If it's my child, how can he be so cowardly? If someone doesn't offend me, I won't offend anyone. If someone offends me, why do they care so much? Just his mother. Sugu thought of some people on the internet in the past. What if he is a bald man with tattoos and is more powerful than you? Then just be cowardly. In the final analysis, you bully the weak and fear the strong. You know you are stronger than yourself, but you still want to fight. What else is it? Stupid, Missouri said, who said let's forget it, let's record this revenge for the time being. It is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge in 10 years. Sugu nodded, it makes sense. The banyan tree with its vigorous branches and dense crown shades the ground, providing a shade. CV-16 was sitting on the bench under the tree, filled with happiness, because Kent was willing to give it to her because of the ferocious tiger in her arms, and the ginger and fish cakes curled up on her black legs. Strangely, it was a bald eagle. Belmakan was not there, and looking into the distance, the garrison was halfway up the mountain, and the sky above the top of the mountain hovered outside it. MRS Dumpling Missouri called. CV-16 had already acquiesced to her identity. When she saw Sugu and Missouri, she asked, "What's going on?" "It's okay, I'll just scream," Missouri whispered to Sugu, "I don't want to become the next CV-16. I remember you were making fun of you at that time, and you were very happy," Sugu thought to herself. She had just built the CV-16, and I don't know where she went wrong. Of course, Lexington's education had certain problems, and she had to feed herself. She also said some misleading words, which were ignored. The next day, rumors were flying all over the sky, which was worse than this time. From then on, she became MRS-16 and MRS Dumpling. "Now it's your turn." Missouri covered her face with her hands, shrugged her shoulders, and began to cry. Of course she was pretending. She is a good actress. "I don't want to be MRS Suchu, it's my honor." "You want to be MRS Su in the 17th century, but I'm not willing yet," Sugu said. "I'm not that hungry yet." Missouri raised her collar, revealing her fair skin, and blinked her eyes, looking extraordinarily charming and cat-like. "Then a beautiful woman is willing to be your wife, isn't she?" "Say it again." "Okay, I changed my mind." Missouri stretched out her right hand, revealing the palm of her hand with the word "chew" on. "Bring it here." "What?" Missouri hooked her fingers. "Ring." "Of course I can't take it with me, inside the room," Sugu said. "You want it to be given to you right away." Missouri said, "Go get it." "It's so hard to run away." Sugu was not that stupid. He saw South Dakota riding a small car, and Mahan was following her on a small motorcycle named Alfred. She must be wearing a ring, which never left her hand. He thought that if he asked her to come back, she would definitely fall into the deep sea. Bar. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a can of beer that someone had placed on a stone pillar on the roadside. He said, "Diamonds are actually a scam, and of course they are the most wonderful marketing scam. Rings don't need to be expensive, they are expensive because they are sincere. Do you want can pull tabs?" "Since you said so, that's fine, bring it." Sugahan pulled off the can pull tab. "Here." Missouri reached out. Sugu said, "Please, left hand." Missouri shifted her left hand, palm down. Missouri's fingers were slender, but the hole in the can's pull ring was too small. Sugu said, "You can't put it on, your fingers are too thick." Missouri raised eyebrows and said, "What you call a ring can't even be worn by a small house. How can Xiao Zai's ring be so casual? Of course it must be customized." Missouri crossed her arms and asked, "Does Bismarck know you have this idea?" "She was the one who persuaded me several times to get married in a small house." "I do not believe." "Ask Bismarck," Sugu said. "I didn't lie." "Impossible." The dog's tail grew with difficulty in the cracks in the cement and swayed in the wind. Sugu easily pulled one out and woven it into a ring. "How about this ring?" Missouri reached out again. Sugu held up Missouri's left hand with his left hand, and put the dogtail ring on her ring finger with his right hand. Missouri turned her back to the sun, raised her hand, and looked at the dogtail ring on her ring finger. Sugu looked at her profile and could almost hear his own heartbeat. Missouri took back her hand, she spotted Sugu, and asked, "What are you looking at?" "Suddenly I realized that you are quite beautiful." When Missouri saw Sugu's expression, she was stunned and said, "Of course sister is beautiful. Take my ring and you will be mine from now on." "A dogtail ring is too crude." "Suguxiao, is a diamond ring as big as a pigeon egg enough? It needs to be bigger." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 899. Sister Lexington. There is not a lot of work in the town hall, and it is handled quickly. There is nothing left. Lexington doesn't like to go to coffee shops, and prefers to stay in the office. She was sitting on the sofa reading a magazine, holding a cup of coffee when she heard a voice. She turned her head and said, "CV-16, what's the matter?" Sugu and Momo didn't even think about where to hide. Ever since they became obsessed with detective novels, CV-16 always paid attention to everything discovered around them. This is the basic quality of a good detective, so she saw everything. It turned out that I struggled for a long time and finally made up my mind, but at the end I hesitated again. I didn't know whether to speak or not. I thought whether it would be too shameless to make a small report, so I stopped talking. Have you encountered any problems? Or do you want something? Lexington smiled with concern and gentleness. You're welcome, just tell your sister. With such an understanding sister Lexington, it is simply unforgivable for the Admiral, as her husband, to do such a thing. CV-16 gritted her teeth and said, I saw the Admiral and Missouri, they. After hearing this, Lexington remained calm, without any anger on his face. I know. CV-16 asked curiously, Sister Lexington, aren't you angry? It's just a matter of time and time. Lexington knew that one day, she said with a smile, it's worth being angry about, but there will be no end. Mutsu, Missouri, and in the future there will be Richelieu, Washington, Zhanghe, and Yisen, there are too many to count. Lexing suddenly blinked his eyes, like a little devil. At least when CV-16 becomes the real MRS-16, sister will be very happy and will never be angry. CV-16 tilted his head. Rumors are flying all over the town. Of course, there are reasons why everyone is enthusiastic about spreading them. Is there anyone who is adding fuel to the flames? Outside the townhouse, on top of the tall white lighthouse, there was a woman with short hair standing there. She was Wisconsin. 3 words never leave the Admiral, what he did and what he said. He kept talking to a woman with white hair, and today he tricked her into eating biscuits from London. This is not the point. Although most of them were bad words, there was no trace of disgust on his face. My sister, are you a fan of the authorities, or do you know what you are thinking from the beginning, and you are just afraid? Be braver. Kiss. Where's the hug? Do you want to go down and provoke them? You have to figure it out yourself. Sister, congratulations. Although it's just a dogtail ring, it's still a ring until he saw a satisfactory picture. Wisconsin nodded and put away the telescope. His shoulders shrugged. Wisconsin suddenly laughed. Ha ha, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Wisconsin, why are you here? Wisconsin, your laugh is still so distinctive. Wisconsin looked outside the lighthouse. She wanted to kill someone and silence her. Is that high enough? The waves hit the rocks, splashing white crystal spray. The waves are rolling, and the waves rush to the beach, and then quietly recede soon after. The tide rises and falls over and over again, drawing strips of silver edges on the beach. Sugu and Missouri walked on the beach, leaving footprints of different shades. So quiet. Missouri held her hands behind her back, and she still wore a foxtail ring on her finger. No one is here. Sugu looked around. There is still some time before winter vacation, and classes must be held every day except weekends. All the little Lolita went to class, but Lord Sukbader didn't have time to fish, and no one was playing with the sand here, or burying amethyst quartz. The sand castle, sand lighthouse, and sand turret they built yesterday were still there, but most of it collapsed. On weekdays, the 3 Königsberg sisters and Leipzig like to sit on the rocks and drink beer, but today there is no one there. Ko's favorite thing is to come here with a bag of breadsticks to feed the seagulls, temporarily forgetting the nightmarish study and the devil sister Andrea. I also know that I am stupid, and I don't want to. Whether it was lively or quiet, Sugu didn't care. He said, "It's been 3 years since I came to the governor's mansion. Time flies so fast. Less than half a year ago, Abyssal Yamato attacked the garrison for the first time. He didn't sink her at that time, he just defeated her. She was just a model worker. We didn't go to find her, and she still wanted to take revenge on us. She took Abyssal Dragon with her for the second time. Xiang and Ziwei came over and decisively defeated them, stripping off their clothes and breaking off their horns. Later I reported to the company to discuss reimbursement and rewards. The first time I saw you, you were standing in the aisle. You must have just taken a shower. Your hair was still wet and you wanted to dry it early. You kept shaking your hair. Missouri said, "You fell in love with your sister at that time. How can it be?" Sugu suddenly became amused. We defeated the deep-sea flagship, and there were so many deep-sea ship girls, but we didn't get a single ship girl. I asked her if she could give me a ship girl as a reward, and she agreed. Agree means consent, nothing. A real little angel, not a fake product like Carmichael. U-156 is so rare, I can understand it. Foodie U-96 doesn't have it either. Well, this one is almost rare. I remembered again, Sook Bader, I said you would catch a U-96 for me, but there has been no movement yet. Xiaoyu doesn't have it, and neither does Claxton, although it does exist now. Don't talk about Clarkston. Missouri remembered what happened in the corporate office a few days ago. She just said it casually. There may not be Clarkston. Even if there is Clarkston, for a Clarkston, he can say such flattering things, what an ugly face he has. It's like I did something, just said a few nice words. Sugu said, if there are U-156, U-96, or Feng Feng, it doesn't matter how flattering they are. Is it really shameful? Missouri asked, lowly girl control. Sugu took it for granted, it's not shameful, it feels good. Missouri had nothing to say and could only shake her head. Sugu complained, there is nothing. I want to ask her for the roster and find out what ship girls there are in the ship girl branch. Missouri interrupted him and said, let me tell you who you fancy, Houston, Augusta, Guadalcanal or San Francisco. Just ask the company to introduce you. The operation of asking for a roster is really a bit frivolous. It's not a big deal to ask for a roster, Sugu said. Speaking of which, I only found out later during the party that there was a booklet. I don't know who recorded it, including you, and so did the company. We guard it. Zeppelin from the mansion, and Nelson, the instructor from the academy who comes to guard the mansion from time to time, etc. Of course, they are definitely not complete. We have introduced some of the most powerful ship girls in the world who don't have admirals, so feel free to take action. There are still us, Missouri asked, didn't it mean that there is no admiral's ship girl? Sugu said, it was still there when I saw it, but the new version is probably gone now. Missouri opened her eyes wide, why did I never know that there is such a thing? There's a lot you don't know. I feel like you admirals are a bit scary and quite perverted. Sugu's expression remained unchanged, I am resistant to this kind of thing. I believe it, Missouri sneered. She thought about it, made some gestures, and curiously asked, is there a booklet that records the cute little girls and little Lolita from all over the world who don't have admirals? No, most young girls and little Lolita are destroyers, which are easier to catch. It's not your turn at all, Sugu said, there is only a booklet that introduces which destroyers are cute, fantasy, Lafite, Feng Feng, etc. Submarines are the cutest, Archerfish, Mackerel, and U-81. Is there any ranking? There is no ranking. Everyone has different aesthetics. Admirals are scattered all over the world, and voting is inconvenient. Sugu touched his head, there really is no ranking. There is nothing comparable. Of course, our little house is the cutest in the world. It is powerful and cute. The existence that crushes all sentient beings, although it is very skinny, it is actually a healing power. Seeing Sugu talking incessantly, Missouri interrupted him. Okay, stop talking, I understand. Sugu smiled shyly and returned to the topic. Anyway, the company was unwilling to give me a roster. Then I asked her who you were, and she said Missouri. Missouri said, that guy from the company betrayed me like this. Honestly, I just gave you an introduction. It was mainly you who said a few words casually and then followed you to the guardhouse. Missouri said, what treasures do you say? It's just Yamato Fukami's horn and Z Wikaku Fukami's sickle. Sugu thought to himself that the deep-sea flagship was still difficult to deal with. It was not his own garrison, and it could barely sink it. Let alone anything else, he said, what do you call it? Have you seen and touched it before? Well, no. Why do you want to stay? Sugu said, it must be because of Lexington. Missouri thought to herself that she had practiced a few games and lost them all, but it would be great if she could win one. It was really a setback. It was Lexington who comforted him and he cheered up again, but it would definitely be wrong to say that it was all because of her. There is also Xiazai, the healing artifact. This is the only one who will never retreat no matter what. Sugu emphasized, the little house is mine. Yes, yours. Sugu looked up at the sky and saw a large group of seagulls circling. He lowered his head and asked as if nothing had happened, does it have anything to do with me? I'm sorry, I didn't say anything. Suguxiao, it's one thing to be willing to stay. I think of the guardhouse next door to us. It was really miserable. The company said that she arranged for many ship girls to go there, but they all left after staying for a while. I am willing to join the guardhouse. The government is one thing, but of course it's because I'm outstanding. Don't be so narcissistic. Seek truth from facts. Advisor Su, when did Missouri recognize me as Admiral? Missouri thought about it. During the Chinese New Year, we set off fireworks together and received red envelopes. We had very little money, so we went to the West together for a long cruise life, or a little bit of accumulation. I accidentally remembered that I had already regarded myself as a guard. As a member of the government, she replied, I can't remember. Sugu said, let me think about it. When was the first time you called me Admiral, not Admiral Su, or Mr. Su? When? March 15th. Absolutely not. When did you say? It's not March 15th anyway. Why, Sugu said, I remember it was a sunny day with a bright sun, a rare good weather. Missouri said, keep your eyes a little more floating. Sugu stopped talking. Missouri saw a beautiful conch, bent down to pick it up, and twisted the conch by its tail. I have seen countless admirals who are better than you, more handsome and taller, including many governors. Old man, forget it, it's just not that interesting. Speaking of which, I almost joined a garrison before. Sugu was a little jealous. Who? You know that admiral. For ordinary people, admirals are still quite rare. If you meet someone and say a few words, you can use them as conversation starters. But for Sugu, who is an admiral, it is no big deal. He knows too many admirals. Students from the surrounding garrison and college said, I can't guess. I remember saying it before, Missouri said. No. Then remind you, the front line general base. I know who it is. I wanted to join at the time, but I really couldn't accept the sweaters, woolen trousers, and floral cotton padded jackets. Every time I think of them wearing down jackets, wrapped like rice dumplings, with the hopeless expressions on their faces, it's funny. And whether they are adults or children, unless they are when going on sorties or patrolling, you have to go to bed at 9 or 10 every day. I can understand it. Sugu went to the other party's garrison and understood how difficult it was. Think about it, Missouri said, if I had known today, I would have joined her garrison. In fact, it is not that big of a deal. It's a pity it's too late, there's no chance again. By the time I realized it, the sky had been dyed orange by the setting sun. Sugu took out his pocket watch. It's 6 o'clock, let's go back. Missouri said, just go back. Get ready to eat. Missouri said, don't you do something. What? Missouri smoothed her hair, put her index finger on her lips, and said, for example, this. Since you want to. Then sign here, the agreement. No, it's a surrender letter, and bow to my sister's charm. Sugu walked to the front of Missouri and reached out to take away the signature pad in her hand. He didn't know where she took it from. He glanced at it briefly and didn't look at the content at all. It was densely packed anyway. He took off the cap of the signature pen and found it. Place, swish swish, he signed his name without hesitation. That's it? Missouri put away the signing pad and smiled a little bit. I suddenly panicked. Don't panic. Missouri put her hands around his neck. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 900. Tomato beef. Except for banquets, there is no buffet. Otherwise, if a few foodies in the guardhouse go on a killing spree, others will have nothing. Chung Ching, who was wearing a chef's hat and a white apron, held a large spoon and took the bowl handed over by Houston. The canteen provides bowls and chopsticks, but some people like to use their own bowls. Xiaoxi's ceramic bowl has Bismarck's face on it. Akaga's bowl is a basin, and she said, there is no tomato beef, only potato beef. Then let's have potatoes and beef, and a piece of plain cut chicken. After Houston finished speaking, he looked up at the recipe posted on the glass of the dining window in the cafeteria and asked curiously, why is there no tomato beef? Chung Ching said, didn't you notice? There are no more tomato scrambled eggs. Why? Chung Ching raised her chin, and Houston followed her gaze and saw New Orleans with short green hair. Next to her was a blue-haired girl. She must not have been able to hear what was being said here, so she happened to turn her head. Yeah, his cheeks are bulging, like a hamster that has eaten a lot of melon seeds and peanuts. Ovo chewed them with an innocent expression. Quincy is in the canteen. If you're not careful, tomatoes. Chung Ching's face was full of helplessness. There are only a few left. Houston said, just give him a beating. It must be useful, Chung Ching thought to himself. The tomatoes were placed on the chopping board, and one hand slowly reached out. At that time, he chopped the kitchen knife on the chopping board, but he still grabbed a tomato before stopping. A family sits at a dining table. Atago glanced at his younger sister, Tomi, and smiled brightly. Tomi, call me sister, good sister. Toriamai didn't know why, so she said, Atagone. Eat it. Atago took a large piece of pork belly with pickled vegetables from his own bowl and put it into Chumi's bowl. Remember, you like to eat it. The best pork belly with pickled vegetables should naturally be made from pork belly. It should not be too lean or too fat. It's rare to be perfect, so if you have to choose, it's better to be thinner. Chumi looked at the pork belly with pickled vegetables that her sister put into the bowl. The most delicious skin was gone, there was only one layer of lean meat, and there were large pieces of white fat meat. Did I say that I liked it? Atago said, eat quickly. Chumi hesitated for a moment, but her sister was kind-hearted and couldn't refuse, so she just ate it in one go. Eat more vegetables. Maya ate all the twice-cooked pork and put the green pepper into Chumi's bowl. She also pinched Chumi's cheek. Koriamai, look at you, you are getting fatter and fatter. Pay attention. Nutritional balance. Toriamai thought to herself, my sister is so kind, where can I find a sister who cares so much about her? I told you, you've gone too far. Cao Sheng slapped the table and scolded the two younger sisters, knowing how to bully the younger ones. Tokai, try this beef. Chumi was silent for a long time, feeling that she couldn't speak anymore. Sister Kaosheng, this is Ginger, right? Kaosheng bit the tip of his chopsticks and laughed. The Admiral is right, Ginger is undoubtedly the master of disguise in the culinary world. When placed in fish, it looks like fish, when placed in chicken, it looks like chicken, and when placed in potatoes and beef, it looks like beef. Sugu likes bibimbap and has mentioned it many times, so no matter who is responsible for cooking, remember to give him an extra spoonful of thick soup. If it is Yuxian, a gentle sister, a considerate wife, of course the latter really means not only that, she also knew that he liked pot burnt, which is the burnt crust that comes from cooking dry rice. Starting from tomorrow, the Japanese will be in charge of the canteen. In the past, it was okay to have a small number of people in the garrison, and food was easily provided. But now there are so many people, and I am responsible for the food for so many people. I often have to get up early in the morning to prepare, and I have to clean up after dinner. Basically, the whole day has passed. Don't be too tired of the fishery administration. Although they don't care and don't find it tiring, of course it's better for everyone to share some of it. Akage didn't expect anything. She could eat all the ingredients. Xiang he could not survive alone. The situation was much better after the family returned to the Tutelary fort. Fuza returned to the Tutelary fort and Mutsu, so he couldn't just see her showing off. On the other hand, he runs an izakaya with great success and is also good at cooking. In fact, in terms of overall strength at this time, the Japanese have already surpassed Yuzheng. Lexington sat opposite Sugu. Today is Wednesday, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow will be Japanese, and the others will be responsible for the weekend. British people are absolutely not allowed to enter the kitchen. Of course, the reputation of the head maid is an exception. She is chic and invincible. Although Mi is a little more confident, Blucher's cooking skills are still very good, and he is good at all kinds of sausage and bacon dishes. San Juan seems to know a little bit of everything, and the French village girl Joan of Arc knows more. Italy the food is still very famous, but in the governor's house, Ko can barely do it, Andrea doesn't expect it, and other Italian little Lolita don't cause trouble. There was a vague sound, and Sugu looked in the direction from which the sound came, and sighed. Hood and Prince Eugen started to quarrel again. They had a small quarrel every 3 days, and a big quarrel every 5 days. Lexington didn't look at it at all. She concentrated on picking fish bones from the fish. What was prepared in the canteen today was not sea fish. If it were sea fish, there would be fewer bones and no need to deal with it. Then she put it into Sugu's bowl. It must be Hood who scolded Bismarck again. It's a cat thief. You know it again. It has been mentioned many times, but Lexington is still the same. Sugu enjoys the fish and meat with peace of mind. As an admiral, he has no intention of going over to break up the fight. The reason is almost daily, there is no malice, it is just fun, he watches it with gusto. Why can't it be Prince Eugen who bullies Hood? She must do this kind of thing often. When she is in a good mood, when she sees Hood, she says, "Hood-chan, have you stuffed the cat today? Rodney is back." No one, at least no one from Germany dares to provoke the British. Bazi definitely dares to draw not only Hood and Prince of Wales, but also Rodney's notebook. No one is afraid of Bazi. Sugu said curiously, "Speaking of which, I have never seen Rodney look so sickly. He was panicking and scared, crying and saying I'm sorry, while holding the barrel of the naval gun and taking photos. Are you hitting people on the head, or are you pointing a naval gun at people's heads, saying, why are you doing this and I don't want this? Neither. What is that? It's best not to meet the Admiral, otherwise the worldview will collapse." Lexington said, "You haven't met Prince Eugen, Leipzig, Scharnhorst, there are so many people. When Rodney speaks, are you scared? Consultant Sue, is it that scary? Some. She looks so pure and soft, She doesn't seem to be soft at all. Anyway, she is a lovely sister. Sugu looked at Nelson wearing a large lapel trench coat. He was really handsome, while Rodney looked a little shy. Rodney sitting among them, Nelson, Xiaoluo, and Rodney are really like a family of three. Lexington asked, "Does the Admiral want a child?" "Honestly, it doesn't matter. I want to give birth to a child for the Admiral." Lexington lowered his head, looked at his belly, and then started to laugh. "It looks like Sumingli." "Don't say Sumingli is right. I'm really convinced." "You must be too good at making things up." Sugu thought for a while and said, "If Lexington really wants it, then we will have a daughter. I have already thought of a name. Yes, Suzixuan, Suruoxi, Sushian, Sukexan, Suzixuan, ha 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 ha." "Why are you laughing?" Lexington said, "These names sound pretty good to me." Saratoga spoke at this time. She said, "Sister, are you crazy about having a baby? Give birth to a baby Lexington, a CV-16, or a Phelps, maybe a carrier-based aircraft will be born." Kent has grown up and harvested a ferocious tiger. Hood has grown up and harvested ginger fish cakes. In your case, you have grown up and harvested a child. Sugu laughed so hard that he laughed and said, "Maternity leave is over. The sea breeze is so refreshing." Lexington knocked Sugu's head and touched his sister Saratoga's long, silky golden hair. "Don't you think Jaga wants it?" "I don't want to," Saratoga said. "Trouble, I just want my brother-in-law." "Yes," Lexington said, "Gaga is still young, still a girl, still a child." Sugu usually eats the fastest, but this time Saratoga finished it first, and she went to find Bazai. Until Saratoga was far away, Sugu looked at Lexington and hesitated to speak. "I have been absent-minded. Admiral, what do you want to say to me?" "Regarding matters related to Missouri, go to the radio room of the town hall and declare loudly that you can't do it. There is no need to carefully conceal it. It will be fine naturally. No matter what, at least tell Lexington, otherwise it will be the reputation of the maid and the psychological harbor." Sugu said, "You should already know." Lexington smiled, "Got it? I know that nothing can be hidden from you in the guard's mansion." Sugu said, "There are so many minions." "What is a minion?" Lexington said, "It seems like I have become a big devil." "Isn't it?" "It turned out to be the big devil." Lexington. Sugu laughed and asked, "Who told you?" "It should be CV-16. She was next to her at the time, holding the ferocious tiger in her arms. And ginger fish cakes, she really likes small animals. She also likes detective novels, and wants to be a detective, but being cool is just the surface." "Does the Admiral hate snitches?" "How can you hate my MRS-16? Lexington said, "It's not just CV-16, there are many people who have seen it, and if you don't want others to know, you have to do it yourself." Sugu said, "I didn't want to hide anything originally. A ring of dogtail grass, even an admiral can use it. It was just a joke at first, and then—" Sugu lowered his head and explained. After hearing this, Lexington was surprised. "How dare you sign the surrender, and agreement without even reading it?" Sugu thought to himself that Missouri was already beautiful and charming, but how could she calm down in that situation? It would have been better if she didn't have such animalistic tendencies. Anyway, it was impossible for her girl to harm him. "Admiral and Missouri, I have already thought of it." Lexington thought again and hesitated. "There are some things I don't know whether I should say." "Then don't talk about it." Lexington patted the table lightly. "The Admiral knows what everyone thinks." Sugu already knew what Lexington wanted to say. After all, love is a consensual thing between two people. Just like Admiral and Missouri, they like each other and get to where they are today. "It's not that I like you, you must like me. There is no such reason. Richelieu, Washington, Xianghe, Yuxian, there are so many people. If the admiral really doesn't like them at all, forget it. In fact, he likes them. It's just not as good as Missouri and Ruhi. He doesn't have a ring, so he's mainly a coward. It's okay in Washington. She has South Dakota to bully. She has a job every day and doesn't have that much to think about. Richelieu's words are not like the Miss Lee who hates marrying or the hungry wolf sister that everyone talks about. The French knight is still very strong, but it must have been too long to wait for that affection. Starting from Colorado, to Zhiwehe, counterattack, Mutsu, and now Missouri, disappointment over and over again. When Lexington said this, Sugu touched his forehead and looked around. Richelieu and Joan of Arc were sitting together. They originally thought about getting married after everyone returned from the attack, but they were delayed because of the Mutsu incident, and then the investiture ceremony came up, and now it's Missouri. Washington sat in the corner, reading a book while eating. He didn't know what the book was. It might be a magazine or a lore-related book. Next to her is North Carolina, and North Carolina's favor has also been brushed away, but she has a warrior character and doesn't care about rings at all, and she is usually in the form of a little Lolita. Yuxian didn't see it. He probably ate it in the kitchen and didn't appear in the canteen. Xianghe was sitting near the back door of the cafeteria, and Zhiwehe was sitting opposite her and talking about something. He looked very excited, shaking the chopsticks in his hand. Compared to the gentle Xianghe, she is the most troublesome person. He had been urging his sister to marry him before, but since the days of Mutsu, the urging has become even more intense, and he even promised Bai Musen, a wedding dress, a yukata, and sisters, in short, anything. Besides them, there are many others. Ayanamai hasn't given her the ring yet. After mentioning it once, Fuzu began to pay attention to her appearance. Now she is young and beautiful in a cherry-colored kimono. Her thoughts? The meal was not finished and he couldn't eat any more. Sugu pushed the bowl and lay on the clean dining table without any oil stains. I don't know what to do. Cool it, Lexington said. You brought this on yourself. I want to die. Lexington was angry. Don't talk about dying or anything, you still have to accompany everyone. I wonder if they know about it? About Missouri, Sugu thought for a while. Even if they don't know now, they will definitely know in 2 days. Definitely. Lexington suddenly laughed. Admiral, let's think about how to deal with everyone's relationship. Then, I have a question. Sugu said, what's the problem? Where will the Admiral stay at night? Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 901. Sugu didn't know how to answer Lexington's question. It was funny, but the wife was still very considerate. She stood up, straightened Sugu's collar, patted his chest, and said, we can talk about everyone's affairs later. Since I gave you the ring, at least spend time with him today. To be honest, from the time Missouri joined the garrison until now, I have seen everything that happened to you, and I am a little jealous. Don't worry, madam, the madam will always be the madam. Sugu raised a hand and expressed his loyalty quickly while feeling pleased. He suddenly remembered that everyone liked him because of the game. Only Missouri was a complete acquaintance and fell in love. There's one more thing I want to say, Lexington said. MRS said. Admiral, take care of yourself and don't let Missouri squeeze you out. Sugu's expression froze, and he couldn't help complaining, my wife, please, don't be so understated and ruin such a touching atmosphere all at once. Please, give me back my touching feeling. Time passed quickly, the sky gradually darkened, and soon it was night. A lot of things happened during this period. In short, Sugu was now standing in Missouri's room. Sugu looked around. The decoration is good. Of course, Missouri said. The Missouri room has a dark solid wood floor, a walnut bed with its headboard against the wall, placed in the center of the room, and an azure-colored quilt. The quilt is not stacked specially, and there are 2 large fluffy pillows. There is a rectangular bedside table on the left and right, also made of walnut, with a table lamp on it, as well as photo frames and some small ornaments, such as a boat in a bottle, a pair of abstract ceramic dares, a puppet toucan, etc. The wardrobe and bookcases are placed together, and the fabric sofa is placed by the window. There is a small round table next to it with a kettle and teacups. American country style, consultant Sue. Missouri replied, pretty much. The 4th floor is the highest floor. Is it hot in summer? It's hot, Missouri said. The insulation layer on the rooftop is of no use at all. Sugu said, let's put up a metal shed on the rooftop sometime. If we add another layer, it won't be so hot. We won't be afraid of rain. There's no need to rush to put away the quilt when drying. Both of them knew what might happen next, and no one wanted to mention it. After saying a lot of useless words, Missouri still spoke, I'm going to take a shower first. Go ahead. Missouri's handmade comb smoothed her long hair, her eyes were as charming as silk. Why don't you come along? Being respectful is worse than obeying orders. Sugu smiled, of course he knew that such a thing was absolutely impossible. As expected, Missouri was rude and she yelled, get out of here. Sugu walked around the room, wondering if he wanted to go so fast. It usually takes a long time for a man and a woman to hold hands and reach home plate, until the school closes at 11 o'clock one day. The 2 of them only bring an ID card. If you cross this line, you will be an animal. If you don't cross it, you will be worse than an animal. It is natural to choose after or. But the ship girl accepted the ring to become a wedding ship, which means that the 2 people are already husband and wife. Not only can the boyfriend and girlfriend break up at any time, but there is even a risk of getting off the ship. After saying so much, it turned out that she still fell. After confirming the relationship, she wanted to possession. Sugu was looking at the town hall at night by the window. After waiting for a long time, he saw Missouri walking out in white cotton pajamas, tilting his head, his long brown hair hanging to one side, and wiping his long hair with a towel in both hands. He asked, is it washed? What are you looking at? Missouri walked to Sugu and looked out the window. That's the flying eagle and the falcon. What are they doing there? Taking a walk? Are you still awake? Sugu replied, I don't know. Ignore them, you go and wash it. And Sugu took the clothes, but before he walked into the bathroom, he stopped when he heard Missouri's words. Missouri said, put my clothes in there, don't take them, my clothes are doing weird things. If you have a real person, why do you need clothes? Sugu thought for a while and said, remind me specifically, do you want me to do strange things with your clothes? It's too arrogant. Be more rogue. After Sugu left, Missouri suddenly felt a little scared. Sugu came out of the shower and found that the headlights had been turned off. Only the yellowish light from the desk lamp illuminated a small area around the bed. Missouri was covered with a quilt, sitting on the bed and leaning on the bedside to read a magazine. He said, just lie down. Did you get off? Your hair is still wet, right? About there. What are you looking at? Missouri picked up the magazine and showed it to Sugu. It was a fashion magazine, and less than half of the page was filled with various advertisements. According to Wichita, she used to be a graphic model and even appeared on the cover of the magazine. There was an inlay on the picture. A fancy chain with a huge ruby and countless broken bricks is as gorgeous as you want. I want this. Sugu didn't even look at it. He waved his hand, buy. Missouri turned over a page of the magazine and found another pair of emerald earrings. I want this one too. Purchase. You sure? Sugu saw the price clearly and smiled, not sure. I kicked you. I still have some pocket money. Forget it, I don't like it too much. Sugu sat down by the bed and said, the shampoo is almost gone. I kept forgetting to go to the warehouse to get it. Why is there a little yellow duck in the bathtub? Do you like that kind of thing too? From a small house. Sugu said, I asked why it is so familiar. Missouri pointed to the dolphin doll placed on the sofa, that one also belongs to Xiaozai. You must be a bit shameless. You take everything. Sugu thought for a moment, it seems I gave it to her. Missouri nodded, I'll give it back to her tomorrow. It's really ugly. Sugu bared his teeth. Not knowing what to say, Sugu saw the small painted metal alarm clock placed on the bedside table. It's 10 o'clock. You're too anxious. I mean, it's time to go to bed. What are you thinking about? Missouri put down the magazine and fell asleep, covering his head with the quilt. It's time to go to sleep, good night. Of course it's impossible to just forget about it, nothing can be missing. When Sugu woke up the next morning, he found that Missouri was leaning over him and looking at him. What are you looking at me for? Missouri lay down, it's nothing. The curtains in the room were very thick, and light could not penetrate. It was a bit dark. Consultant Su asked, what time is it? 7:30. It's still so early, let's go to sleep again. Sugu wanted to continue sleeping, but suddenly laughed, I was really entertained yesterday. Missouri was silent for a moment, smiled charmingly, and whispered, the second time is half price. Please forgive me for refusing. Missouri said nothing and threw out the signature pad. Article 15. I forgot to read it. Now let's take a look. Your conditions are too many. Sugu picked up the signing pad and squinted at the surrender document. He glanced at it briefly and thought that there were only a few clauses in Japan's surrender document during World War II. And then when he saw Article 15 mentioned by Missouri, his face turned livid for a moment. Are you embarrassed to write such a thing? Missouri hugged him, why are you embarrassed? Sugu remembered Lexington's advice. He tried hard to resist, but failed. He had to remind people of a poem, in which a beautiful woman with a body as soft as a stick, with a sword on her waist, kills a foolish man. Although there are no dead heads, secretly the bones of the emperor are withered. When Sugu was paralyzed on the bed, Missouri was full of energy and radiance. She stood in front of the closet, holding a piece of clothing in one hand and gesturing, whether it was a black three-quarter-sleeved hooded sweatshirt or a white lace-bottoming shirt. She couldn't decide between it and turned her head. Come, Sue, you think that dress looks better? Wear that outfit, you've worn it before, a beige trench coat with a large lapel, black silk stockings and boots. Sugu said, put on some sunglasses and hold a cigarette. Oh, madam. Missouri said, I remembered that the reinforcements were in the next room. Go 2 rooms over from here. Uncle, come and play, the girls here are so pretty. Sugu thought to himself, Wisconsin is more popular, definitely the top one. When Sugu got up, washed up and returned to the bedroom, Missouri sat in front of the dressing table. Are you not feeling well yet? Missouri held her hair with both hands. Do you think it looks better with it down or up? Whatever. Missouri said, I heard that girls have to tie their hair up after they get married. You are not a girl anymore, you really are not. Sugu said before Missouri was angry, that was in ancient times, there is no such talk now, look at everyone, Lexington and Saratoga don't have it either. Put your hair up. He thought for a moment and said, you ask me which one looks better, I think it's better to let it down. Okay. Missouri put down her hair, brushed her bangs, frowned slightly, and said to herself, do I still need to draw my eyebrows? Consultant Sue, do you want me to help you? Okay, I'll leave it to you. Missouri turned around. Sugu took the eyebrow pencil. Why are you so skilled? Missouri said, how many people have you traced? Looking closely at Missouri's skin as delicate as suet, and her warm and smooth, three-dimensional facial features, Sugu pinched the eyebrow pencil, thinking that the joy of the boudoir is better than the thrush, but the thrush is definitely not bad. Kill master by Missouri saw lipstick again, rose, red, dessert, bean paste. After helping Missouri put on makeup, Sugu suddenly felt a feeling in his heart. This girl seemed to have become a little girly and a little clingy. If there is anything going on in the town hall, don't try to hide it from everyone. In addition to the little Lolita, there are also otakus like Beizai who don't care about anything about Sugu and Missouri. Of course, Royal Oak is also one, thinking about it all day long. Go to bed, and by noon, everyone knows basically everything. Missouri usually likes to tease people, and this time there are many reasons for people to take revenge because of the rumors. After all, as long as they are not Quincy, South Dakota Fatty and other idiots, most people know that the rumors are untrue, but this time it is different. Several people saw Sugu walking out of her room in the morning and it was confirmed. She was booed while having breakfast. Missouri simply didn't go to her favorite coffee shop. She went back to her room after eating and waited a few days before talking. Even so, there were still people who came over specifically. Hindenburg ran to Missouri's room. She was very excited and teased, "Missouri, I knew you and the Admiral were not clear about it." It was indeed true. One beating is not enough, do you want two more? Hindenburg sat down on the edge of the bed, lay on the bed, sniffed around like a puppy, and said, "Let me smell it to see if there is any strange smell." Missouri, not shy at all, asked, "Do you smell it?" "Smell it? What is the taste?" Hindenburg couldn't answer. She didn't smell anything at all. "I'll tell you what," Missouri said, "it smells like garlic." "Who are you lying to?" Hindenburg was not that stupid. "It actually smells like heather." "I know." Missouri asked funnily, "How do you know?" Hindenburg quickly explained, "I read it in the book." "What else do you know?" Missouri suddenly hugged Hindenburg from behind, brought his mouth to her ear, and blew a breath. Hindenburg shrank his neck, covered his ears, and his face suddenly turned red. "Let me tell you what that happens," Missouri said. "Let me go." Hindenburg struggled, but Missouri held her tightly. She suddenly turned her back and said, "Do you want to hear, Hindenburg? What did we do at night?" "I don't want to hear it," Hindenburg said. "Why are you so shy?" Missouri said, "You will have to do that one day." "I'm not a wedding ship." "The Admiral said that he likes you." Missouri was naturally talking nonsense, "The golden pupils are like bright sunshine. The flowing hair is like the breeze blowing through the grass. Hindenburg, you are accompanying the footsteps of spring. Walking towards me made me feel the arrival of spring. I began to believe that there really are angels in this world, from the moment you came into my eyes." "I don't like him," Hindenburg said. "As a ship girl, how can you not like the Admiral? Even if you don't like it now, you will like it in the future. Let me tell you, that kind of thing is very happy." Missouri whispered in Hindenburg's ear. One hand reached under her clothes, reaching the peak, and one hand reached into her pants. "What are you doing?" Hindenburg barely maintained a trace of clarity. She tried her best and finally got rid of Missouri. She knelt on the ground and lay on the ground, panting. After a while, she got up and tidied her clothes. "You pervert!" Hindenburg quickly ran out of Missouri's room. "Ha ha ha!" Missouri looked at Hindenburg's back and started to laugh. Then her smile faded a little because she thought of something, such as Hindenburg's maid, seducing innocent and ignorant girls, etc. It seemed very interesting. Sugu met Hindenburg in the corridor and saw that her hair was messy and her face was red. "Hindenburg, what's wrong with you?" When Hindenburg saw it was Sugu, he remembered what Missouri had said and showed a hint of panic. Don't come over, or I'll take action." He was a little confused. He was usually bullied, but Sugu cared about everyone in the town hall without exception. He asked with concern, "Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Hindenburg said, "No. If you have anything, just tell me." Sugu said, "I'm your Admiral." Did I tell you? Hindenburg shouted, ran up the stairs, ran back to the room, and leaned against the door as soon as it was closed. Who is it? Saratoga's voice sounded. Sugu did not catch up to Hindenburg. He wanted to wait and ask Missouri what happened. He replied, Hindenburg. Are you involved with Hindenburg again? This really doesn't exist. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 902. Originally, he had made up his mind to stay in the room or the office like Missouri, and wait until the storm has passed in 2 days and everything will be fine. This is indeed how Sugu handled it in the morning. I dreamed of holding the little princess in my arms at noon, and she was willing to hold her. The reason was, as the girl's favorite admiral, there was no need for any special reason, just a mention. I have to say that the girl's waist was soft and felt great, and she could be touched. With her long, soft white hair hanging on her face, after a good sleep, she forgot everything. She woke up and ran to the most popular coffee shop in the governor's mansion, where she was met with enthusiastic teasing and teasing. The dog's tail ring, the admiral is so romantic. What's so romantic? It's just perfunctory. At least I need a diamond ring, at least 10 carats. I also need a betrothal gift, money, gold, furniture, equipment, everything is indispensable. Leipzig's voice. Admiral, Magama said she saw you coming out of Missouri's room this morning. Is it true? I originally thought it was a rumor, but it's true. The Admiral and Missouri must have been together a long time ago, otherwise how could they have happened so quickly? Did Missouri and the lion fight? The Admiral can still get up. Missouri still knows how to behave. I have nothing to say, except to remind you, Admiral, that I just saw Washington sharpening his axe. Guam, come out with me for a moment. Washington, I was wrong. Who will the Admiral marry next? How about marrying the eldest sister? The eldest brother deserves the eldest sister. Karmikia, what are you doing here to join in the fun? Veneto is definitely not good at it. She is a little lowly and has nothing. The Admiral has been coveting Bumblebee's big ass for a long time. I think it's time to take action. Let's start with her. Originally, the reputation of the maid was Lexington's biggest opponent, but she has no ambition at all. The lion is back, and although I don't want to admit it, there is really nothing to say about her figure. Now that Missouri has also joined the battlefield, she is undoubtedly the most troublesome a tough enemy. I don't know who will win in the end. Do you want to bet? Lexington pays 0.5 for 1, and Lion pays 2 for 1. Finally, everyone dispersed. Sugu just ordered a glass of juice, but before it was delivered, he heard another familiar voice. Bulldozer. Sugu turned around and saw Ruhi, wearing a cyan sweatshirt and short skirt, but he ignored him. Bulldozer. 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 Sugu remained silent, and Ruhi couldn't help but push him. I'm calling you. Who do you think you're calling, me? I'm not a bulldozer. Sugu pretended to be surprised. After thinking about it, he was probably a harem at most. Every marriage ship has a basis of emotion. Otherwise, the number of people in the guardhouse would be close to 2. Hundreds of people, the number of wedding ships is at least over 100. How can it be like now, just a dozen people, although it is second to none in the circle of admirals? Ruhi held down her short skirt, sat down opposite him, lay on the round table, and thought for a while. There's nothing wrong with the pile driver. Sugu looked to both sides and saw that no one else was here except Ruhi. He grabbed her cheek, pulled it into a pie shape, and said, "That's right, it's a super powerful pile driver. Do you want to try it tonight?" Ruhi slapped his hand away. rubbed his face, and blushed, "You rogue. When did you become so dirty?" Sugu asked. "Did you also get involved with Bazai?" Ruhi didn't answer Sugu. It was only inside the boudoir. Now it was outside. She was really afraid that he would speak unintentionally. She snorted, "I remembered that Missouri hasn't called me sister yet, and I haven't drank what she served." You too, haven't heard her call her sister yet. Sugu saw Mutsu. Her long hair was not tied up as usual, but simply tied into a ponytail. She looked very similar to Nagato. She was wearing a loose yukata today, and her snow-white skin emanated from the yukata. The skirt of his clothes was exposed, which was a little dazzling. "Are you wearing it underneath? Underwear or something? I'm just a little curious, nothing else." As a girl, she is always particularly keen on sight. Mutsu noticed Sugu's gaze and raised her collar. "Admiral, do you want to take a look?" Sugu replied, "I don't want to see it." "Don't be shy. If it's the Admiral, Mutsu can't refuse." What a naughty thing. Ziwihi was not happy for a moment. She saw the mountains and deep valleys on Mutsu's chest, and then looked at her pair of aces. They were just small hills. "Even if everyone was Japanese," she said, "Mutsu, I'm confused, why does Miss Missouri call you sister? You don't have a ring yet, but she has already got the ring, so you should call her sister." Mutsu didn't expect that the good sister who she thought could support her with her son would actually stab her in the back. She said, "Rukaku, you are actually helping an outsider. We are all class enemies. We are no longer our own people." Ruhi said, "Let's be reasonable." "Admiral, I also want a ring." Mutsu looked at Sugu, pitiful. For her, changing her face was a trivial matter. She pouted her lips and said with infinite grievance, "If Richelieu and Washington were the first, that's it, I admit it. Why should Missouri, since she has it, I want it too?" Sugu hesitated, not knowing how to answer better. He had to wait for a while before his thoughts would all come together. Rejection is definitely not an option anyway. Although the most intimate step has not been taken yet, the two of them have a lot of other things. The power distribution room, the tall bookcase in the library, the kitchen, the lighthouse, the empty classroom, the garage, etc. can all testify. There were even several little Lolita who got lost and ran around playing ghost games who knew about it, but after promising pudding and chocolate, they saw nothing. Ruhi realized something was wrong. Under the table, she kicked Sugu rudely, and then thought about it again. "Sister hasn't received the ring yet." Sugu's shoulders slumped. "I mean Ruhi, Xiang, he knows what you do all day long, does he really not hit you? Sister is so gentle. Does it have to be that way to get the ring?" Sugu's hobbies can be easily known with a little inquiry. Mutsu said, "Admiral, come to my room at night, or I can go to your place. Kimono, yukata, nun outfit, maid uniform, cheongsam, whatever it is, I can even dress up as Nagato." Ziwikaku said, "Mutsu, are you really not ashamed?" Mutsu nodded, "My fair lady, a gentleman likes to fight. No, my graceful Admiral, a ship girl likes to fight. Young and graceful, Admiral. Let me think about what kind of Admiral it should be." While Ziwihi and Mutsu were talking, Sugu turned around and saw Richelieu, who was sitting by the window, just turning his head and looking out the window with his head slightly lowered, probably looking at the sea or the grass of the governor's mansion. "Handsome Admiral is fine, handsome Admiral, the ship's wife is fine. What's so handsome about that guy?" Sugu turned around. "Ruhi, what are you talking about? Am I not handsome?" Ziwihi hissed. Mutsu said, "The Admiral is super handsome." Shameless woman. When Sugu looked at Richelieu again, he found that she was no longer there, and he felt his heart twitch for some reason. After walking out of the complex and walking down a small slope, Richelieu saw Surcouf and Vauquelin walking by and said hello. After leaving the governor's mansion, he walked down the long steps. On the pier, Suk Bader sat on a small horse to fish, and Odin, the fisherman, sat next to him and waved his hands. The Titan armor definitely didn't exist, so Sugu helped her make a Titan glove out of cardboard and thin iron sheets. Yorktown and CV-16 were not practicing carrier-based aircraft. They were sitting or leaning on the large containers and chatting. Richelieu took a look, said nothing, and walked away. She didn't even see Shinano greeting her. Without confidence, Shinano doubted whether he was disliked. Richelieu came to the rocks by the sea and sat down. She wore a slightly tough autumn dress, a brown windbreaker, black silk stockings and knee-high black boots. She already had a good figure. She was wearing a dress like this. Walking on the street, she was independent, heroic, and handsome, enough to make a little girl scream. The sudden sea breeze blew her hair and messed it up on her pretty cheeks. Her eyes were lifeless and her lips were tightly pursed. The smile is a bit forced, giving people a feeling of loneliness. With his hands on the rocks behind his back, Richelieu leaned back and looked at the sky. The sky is very blue, with only a few light clouds, many seagulls, and some unknown birds circling. Suddenly I want to become a seagull, thinking about nothing and flying carefree in the sky every day. When the sea breeze stopped, Richelieu picked up a stone and threw it far away. With a little effort, he threw it very far, as if he heard a popping sound. He picked up another stone, and then picked up a dried shell. There was nothing good at hand. Throw it away. It's been a long time, and I don't remember much about joining the garrison. Anyway, I joined quite late. The battleship has already taken shape, and I no longer have a place for myself. There is nothing to complain about. The battleship Richelieu does not have many outstanding features. It is not as good as the British 4 ships, nor can it be compared with the Bismarck and Tirpitz sisters. Anyway, I still got a chance to practice. Soon after, the previous secretary ship resigned and became the secretary ship. Admiral. A good admiral. The admiral is still very gentle. I never noticed that he is still very handsome. I don't know when I fell in love with her, but if I don't mind expressing it, he will definitely be able to see the beating red heart. No ring. The secretary ship has also been decommissioned. There were no exercises, no sorties, no expeditions, and the days remained the same until he left the garrison. The garrison fell apart, and everyone was separated. After getting the news, I remembered that it was Chuangziu in June and July when we met again. Helena and Akagi actually became a wedding couple, no envy, no. Occasionally I think about it, I feel a little shy and too shameless. Is this what a knight should think? Want to be a wedding ship, be a bride? Nothing at all. Colorado became a wedding ship. Counterattack becomes a wedding ship. Ziwikaku became the wedding ship. Xianghe actually refused the ring. After beating up a certain unconscious admiral and growing up, who dares to call him Feli? I thought I could ignore it, so I sat by the window reading on a rainy day, leaning my head against the wall, listening to the sound of rain, and looking up to see the raindrops wet the window and blur it, but it didn't work. Then there is Mutsu, she hasn't received the ring yet, and she held an interesting public trial. To be honest, I was a little happy when I heard her called Sister Richelieu. It must be next, and it won't be long before Missouri becomes the wedding ship. Maybe Mutsu is also fast, but he still doesn't have his own. Why? Her figure is no worse than anyone else's, she has what men desire, a plump bust that one hand can't control, and other parts. I'm not bragging about it, I still have this bit of confidence, a straight and pretty face, a graceful neck, a smooth back and shoulders, beautiful collarbones, a waistline without any fat, and round buttocks like a peach that are said to be safe for childbirth and good for fertility. Occasionally he caught the admiral's gaze there, and he definitely liked it. Yes, and slender and sexy legs. Or is it because of his personality? He is too boring, never takes the initiative, keeps a straight face, and is too serious. I have discovered this a long time ago. I have worked hard and made many changes, so there is no problem. You don't need a reason to like someone, but you have 10,000 reasons to dislike someone, or no reason at all. Anyway, if you don't like someone, you just don't like the Admiral. Richelieu messed up her long golden hair and lowered her head. The messy long hair hung down to cover the side of her face. Lexington is gentle to everyone, is that true? There can't be such a person, he's just pretending, he's so good at pretending, the Admiral likes him very much. Saratoga, brother-in-law every day, annoying or not, a big for it. Bismarck, the thief cat, is just a tomboy, with no sentimentality, no feminine qualities, and can't even choose clothes without Prince Eugen. Return the hood and fool, the four-eyed girl, hermaphrodite from 3 meters away, not recognizing any relatives from 5 meters away, and indistinguishable between humans and animals from 10 meters away. The figure is quite dry, not much better than Veneto. He keeps stuffing his cat all day long, and even if it is stuffed to increase the amount of milk in the first stage, it still has no effect. You still want to write a novel, but Defeng is not even half as good as Defeng. Do you still want to be a teacher, teaching ammunition management? Lucky E, an unlucky guy. By the way, there's more. Tirpitz, the lonely queen of the north, is just a dead otaku, a worm in the garrison who can't do anything. Richelieu suddenly laughed. Ridiculous. Richelieu, you are so ridiculous. When did you learn to arrange others behind you? Has it become so hateful? It doesn't matter, there is still so much time, you can do it, and you don't have to be a wedding ship. You will be satisfied if you can stay by the Admiral's side. Richelieu stood up, arranging his hair and clothes. He looked like a crazy woman at first, but gradually became more glamorous. Facing the sea breeze, he tried his best to smile. Richelieu, you are here. When Richelieu heard Segu's voice, she had completely regained her luster. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 903. A little concerned about Richelieu's state, Segu stood in the corridor of the complex and watched her leave the tutelage. After thinking about it, Segu said goodbye to Ziwikaku and Mutsu and chased after her. Passing by the pier, he didn't even rub the lovely Lord Sukbader's face, but picked him up and gave him a kiss. Of course, Odin couldn't be left out, as was Long Xiang, who was chattering and gesticulating beside him. The girl has been taught a lesson many times and is still self-righteous to this day. I can't say what kind of genius he is, but his IQ and EQ are definitely above average. He knows Richelieu's feelings for him. In addition, Lexington has mentioned several times that the Admiral should not let everyone down, and one of them is Richelieu. It is said that she has many nicknames in the town hall, including Archbishop, Night Lady, and Fei Li. The most important one is the last one, Sister Li, who hates marrying. Married to so many people, she was the only one not married. Just now in the coffee shop, she, Ziwikaku and Mutsu were flirting to a certain extent. She must have seen it all, and how did she feel? When he turned around and saw her, she happened to turn her head. Most likely, she found him, so she turned around hurriedly. When I looked at her later, she was gone. So, the man you like is married to another woman, the man you like is intimate with another woman, and you don't want to see such a scene and choose to leave? If it's true, should I just give him the ring? But from Richelieu's point of view, doesn't it look like he's pitying people? Suddenly I remembered that I heard someone say before that the Admiral is not married yet. Sister Li, she hopes and is disappointed again and again. Maybe she will fall into the deep sea and become a deep sea flagship, which will kill you. Admiral Hipper and Blucher used to work in the gendarmerie. Admiral Hipper seldom spoke, and Blucher's chubby figure was quite cute, and his charming and confident personality was also quite interesting. Sitting and chatting together, I heard her talk about several terrible things that might happen when a ship girl becomes paranoid. However, walking along the beach, it didn't take long before I saw Richelieu. There was no clue on her face, her golden hair was not messy at all, and her eye circles were not red. She didn't secretly wipe her tears and say that sand had gotten into her eyes. No grievances can be seen. Reaching out and tucking the wind-blown golden hair behind his ears, Richelieu stood on the rock and looked down at Sugu. Why is the admiral here? Sugu thought for a while and climbed onto the rock. The space allowed for people to stand on the rock was quite large. He clapped his hands and shook off the dust and dirt on his hands. He replied, "I'm looking for you." "Looking for me?" Richelieu asked. "What's the matter? Is Utopia causing trouble again?" "It's not that Xian Huan is causing trouble again. Our little princess Xian Huan is still very well behaved." Sugu thought to himself that not long ago, he hugged her to sleep without saying anything or doing anything. Even when she woke up and ran wildly, she bumped into something and bumped into the bedside table. The ceramic ornaments on the bedside table fell to the ground with a clang and smashed into pieces, or they hit the desk, the water glass on the desk fell over, and the water flowed out and wet the documents. If someone is soft-spoken and short-handed, the most you can say is be careful. You can't even reprimand. How can you complain? Richelieu asked, "What's the matter? Can't I come to you if I have nothing to do?" Sugu showed a resentful expression. "I want to talk to Richelieu." "The admiral will never come to me for nothing." Richelieu affirmed that he was not Xiaozai, nor Bizai, nor Ruhi, nor Missouri, nor Saratoga. Hey, Richelieu, Sister Li, do you really not know what level of beauty you are? Sugu said. "Of course it's to gain favor. What are you doing to get a good impression? Do I really want to make it so clear?" Sugu thought of the conversation between Mutsu and Ruhi, and he laughed a little. Guanjuju is in the river continent, and the gentle lady is so jealous. "Admiral, there is no need to brush. No chance at all. Because it has reached the upper limit." Richelieu smiled, unlike Mutsu's brows that were full of charm and charm. It is said in the admiral's circle that if a ship girl is overly impressed by the admiral's favor, it means that she will never refuse the admiral's ring. Sugu paused. "So. I think of Missouri." Everyone in the garrison knew how Missouri became a wedding ship, and Richelieu was no exception. It was just a joke at first, but in the end it turned out to be true. Of course, two of them had confirmed their eyes, otherwise it would have been half a year ago, or even longer, and it would have been a joke. "Admiral, you want to trick me again?" Sugu smiled and confirmed that he was just thinking nonsense, and Richelieu was not like that at all. "I remember you said something before, Admiral, I like you, can you let me be your lover?" "When you said that, I took it seriously. I was so itchy that I tossed and turned all night and couldn't sleep." Suguksen, I think Richelieu has changed a lot since he grew up, not only in terms of body shape, but also in terms of personality. He has become more mature, independent, confident, and generous. It's true. Richelieu looked at the sea in the distance, where a seagull had just dived into the sea, thinking of the past. If the admiral had put his arm around my waist, Richelieu would not have minded giving him a warm hug. French kiss. Can you give me another chance? It's a pity. I missed it. There is no chance. There is no such store after passing this village. Don't do this. Okay, I'll give you another chance. Richelieu opened his hands. Sugu didn't dare, he wasn't that powerful yet. Admiral, you really have a sharp mouth, Richelieu said and jumped off the rock. The sea breeze started blowing again here. She put her hands into the pockets of her windbreaker. Let's go, the wind is getting strong, go back. Sugu said, my sister Li, she is very handsome. That's natural. Richelieu took out a pair of sunglasses from his pocket and put them on. He pursed his lips tightly and raised his chin to look at Sugu, who looked like a royal lady. How are you now? Sugu said, it's not summer, it's already late autumn, why are you still carrying sunglasses with you? It doesn't matter if you wear it in winter. Yes, if it's Sister Lee, it doesn't matter if she wears it in winter. Sugu thought for a while, and felt a little aggrieved. His height was just average, and his figure was definitely not tall. Only in Kirov's Black and White Under the Deception, his face can be said to be angular, mature, and charming, enough to charm 14 young women. If it were me, without temperament, I would be a fool. On the way back to the governor's mansion, advisor Su asked, why did Sister Lee think of coming here? Naturally, he would not tell the real reason. Richelieu replied, there is no special reason. I just walked around and ended up here. I originally wanted to sit on the lighthouse and enjoy the breeze. That's it? Admiral, are you worried about me? Richelieu walked in front of Sugu. She turned around and said what he was originally thinking. No, Sugu naturally wouldn't admit it, otherwise he would appear to be too narcissistic. I'm a little jealous, Missouri or something, Richelieu said without hesitation, and then geared up. So Admiral, let's go to the training room to have a fight, let me vent, just vent a little. Sugu decisively refused, no fight. Pushing up his sunglasses with his index finger, Richelieu said, a grown man is actually afraid of women. What you mean by this is that girls are inherently weaker than men, Sugu said, who says that female protagonists are inferior to men? Fortunately, I am not a feminist. Richelieu laughed. Sugu said, I am still somewhat self-aware and don't want to be abused. He thought to himself that at his own level, Bismarck knew how to give in and not let his favorite admiral lose too ugly. If it was Maryland, she could only sustain 3 moves at most. It had to be said that she was really average, it was painful, unlike other people. There are still some benefits to beating people. Although I ended up lying on a cotton pad and looking at the ceiling, after recalling the warm and soft touch, my arms and shoulders seemed not so sore anymore. It was more effective than the potion for bruises. More magical than red flower water. Everyone who goes to the training room is a strong person. After so many days and months, the only achievement was that one time Santiago was watching the game with her tail wagging. She had just lost to York City and was unhappy, so she insisted on playing. Without using the power of the ship's equipment, she was at the level of an ordinary female middle school student and high school student who had no control over her. Of course, she was knocked down easily, and then she was complained about bullying the weak, but she had no shame and laughed instead. Sugu subconsciously touched his pocket, but found nothing. He asked curiously, does Richelieu know how to shoot? Richelieu didn't react for a moment. Shoot. Sugu gestured, it's a gun. Some countries, including Chuangziu, also ban guns, but as an admiral, he is qualified to hold a gun. He had a pistol given by Bismarck, and later bought several more from various sources. They were kept in the desk drawer of his office and in the desk drawer of his room. Although he had already explained it, Lafayette still stole it once, and Helena taught him a lesson, so that no one could take it again. Although they themselves have naval guns that are countless times more powerful than these firearms, if they really don't know the importance, there will be a big problem. Usually in the garrison, they are not allowed to unfold the ship's equipment and take out the naval guns and torpedoes. Not very good at it, Richelieu said. Sugu said, let's compete if we have a chance. Okay. Sugu suddenly felt guilty. After walking for a while, he could already see the pier. Sugu asked again, does Richelieu know how to shoot archery? It's the archery. It seems that I have never seen Akagakaga, Shokakuzi Wikaku, Feiying and Falcon Eagle. 2 or 3 times a week, unless the weather is really bad, wear Kyoto uniforms and carry the target table to the grass. Won't. Sugu was a little proud, I can. Well, the admiral is very powerful. Sugu scratched his hair, feeling a bit like a primary school student showing off his toys. In the past, Akage was the teacher of the Kyoto Club in the academy, and I learned from her at the beginning. At that time, she had not grown up yet, Jifa style, mature and generous. The classical ladies are totally goddesses. Of course, they are also very good now. Richelieu said, eat until you're full. She is one, especially Helena, who has become more and more unscrupulous since her marriage. In their words, it is already a wedding ship anyway, so what else can she pretend to be? Sugu said. The little maid still fights back and is well behaved. She is always nice. Same. Sugu wanted to continue speaking, but he opened his mouth without making a sound. It would be better not to say this in front of Richelieu. Returning to the pier, I saw Sukbader still fishing. Long Xiang left, and Sci-fi came again. Now that Richelieu was fine, Sugu was relieved. He walked over and took a look in the small bucket on the side. There were several small and large fish. He hugged Sci-fi in his arms and held her in his arms. Her little round face is the cutest, she said, Mr. Suk. Sukbader turned around and saw Sugu, and she called out, Admiral. I haven't caught it yet. What did you catch? U-96 as promised. You can't catch it. Sukbader felt a little discouraged. She thought she was just joking about fishing for submarines or something. Sugu ruffled Sukbader's melon-like short black hair. Idiot, use cans to fish, canned fruits, oranges, apples, pears. Sukbader didn't like being touched on the head like a child. She held her head with one hand and puffed up her face in anger. Sugu said, if you can't catch U-96 in one day, you are not allowed to do anything else. York City saw Sugu and Richelieu, and she asked, where are the Admiral and Sister Lee? Are they dating? No, Sugu said, walking on the beach. Suddenly I remembered that I haven't held a barbecue party for a long time. Let's hold one sometime. York City was a little excited and forgot to cheer, just for today. Sugu looked at the sky and said, it's too late, there's nothing prepared. If you have time, there are all the ingredients in the governor's mansion. Even if you don't have them, you can rush to the county seat now, immediately, to buy the ingredients, and then you can prepare them in time. York City thought for a while, clasped his fingers. The main problem is the vegetarian dishes, corn, leeks, mushrooms, enoki mushrooms, eggplant, tofu skin, small trowel, bread slices, lettuce. Sugu said, after you said so much, I thought of hot pot again, otherwise I'd better eat hot pot. Let's see who is faster and can grab the meat. Good idea. Richelieu was standing not far away. She looked at Sugu holding Spy high, completely ignoring Spy's struggle, and showed a knowing smile. It was evening and Sugu was sitting in the office. Missouri prepared a midnight snack for him. He couldn't eat it at all, but he was forced to finish it. Missouri took the bowl and left. He looked at the funny Lexington, suddenly remembered, and told him what happened in the afternoon. Of course I know Richelieu's thoughts, but she doesn't care that much, like North Carolina or something. My stupid husband.